What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise post-game show. The Blazers tonight get a win. They rally from a 16-plus point deficit once again, and this is pretty much a carbon copy of the type of games the Portland Trail Blazers have been playing lately. They have now won 5 out of 6. The second halves have looked a lot better than the first halves. This game was no exception. So a lot of the things we're going to touch on tonight are going to be pretty similar to things we've said in the past, but there's definitely some good things, some good moments, and some bad things that need to be shored up. I feel like it's the same thing every game, but we will try and just touch on it all. So in this game, you had McCollum leaving with a sprained foot injury. We'll touch on that. Hopefully it's not too serious. Hopefully it's not something where he misses multiple games. I mean, he played after he had it injured and hit a couple threes. He had a great start to this game, 16 points in 18 minutes. But you had Trent Jr. playing for him down the stretch and playing very good defense and stepping up. As I say, when somebody gets injured, it's next man up. Trent Jr. stepped up today in place of McCollum and helped this team get a win. So what's going on, chat? Hope you guys are having a good night. This is just... It's another Blazers rally from a double-digit deficit to a team, to a lineup that's probably inferior to them. So it's pretty much a carbon copy of the type of thing the Portland Trail Blazers have been doing lately. So Eric, I'll get your what's your initial reaction to this game? Like, how's your feeling, especially compared to last games? Because I know a lot of last games were like this. Like, is this? So, do you feel better about this game? Do you feel worse compared to previous games, or what?
I feel worse, and I tweeted this out. It's not because of wins or losses. It's the way we're coming out of these games unprepared, and as they begin to mount each game. We come out, it seems like we don't correct any of the mistakes that got us in the holes in the previous games, and it's the same problems over and over again. And that's I just can't believe that we're still talking about effort on the defensive end. And like, if you're not going to play good defense or not have a good scheme, at the very least, get your guys to buy in and play 100% on that end and fly around and make plays and just make it look like you're giving effort on that end at the very least. And if they're not, chew their butts out and put players in the game that do put out that effort. So I'm really troubled with the fact that this team is struggling this bad to win so many of these games. But at the same time, I'm happy that compared to last year, we're not like dropping all of these games. We're like above 500. So, but that doesn't excuse all the reasons why we probably should have lost this game tonight.
Yeah, I mean, here's I'm gonna touch on like different things that I'm looking for in my reaction in this game for the things that I'm looking for. Right? Obviously, we want to win. All right, we won. We're 8-5, and we won with McCollum missing some time and Yusuf Nurkic out. So, I like that part of it. But the other things I'm looking for more consistent effort. I don't think we got that tonight. The effort in the second half was great. We held them to 40 points because we were given really good effort. But the first half, and this is a carbon copy of previous games, the first half, our effort was just abysmal. And there's really no reason for it. A team should be able to give consistent effort. So it's not something where like, oh, if they gave effort for a whole game, like we should heap tons of praise and it should be something exceptional. No, that should be the case every game. They should be given effort. It should be like something that you don't have to really worry about, but with this team, you have to worry about it. So frustrated with that because it should be something like the effort is a controllable thing and effort should be consistent. And it hasn't been. So that's extremely frustrating, right? Happy with the win, but frustrated with the inconsistent effort. Happy with the effort in the second half, though, not the first, which is pretty much the way it's been in past games. We dig ourselves a hole, and then we have to give a ton of effort to come from behind. In a lot of games, we've actually been able to do that, but I'd rather not be in a hole in the first place so that we don't have to play Damian Lillard 43 minutes out of 48. That would be nice. The other thing I'm looking for is defensive improvement, or at least consistent defensive improvement, because if you just look at the second half today, we looked phenomenal defensively. We played really good defense the second half. We held them to 40 points. Now, some of it was them missing some open threes, but I felt like we made them a lot more uncomfortable, and we did a lot better job on the defensive end, including a closing lineup with Enes Kanter and Carmelo Anthony that looked great defensively. So everybody who wants to say personnel, I don't like the pairing of Kanter and Melo, but everybody wants to act like certain personnel is incapable of defending, but you see Dame out there with Melo and Kanter, and that lineup is playing good defensively because they're not making a lot of the mistakes they made in the first half. So I'm not happy with the defense in the second half, but I want to see consistent improvement. And I haven't seen consistent improvement. Like, I would be lying to you guys if I said that I had seen consistent improvement, because that first half, we made so many basic, elementary defensive mistakes that are inexcusable, right? I understand if Melo somehow gets matched up against Trae Young and gets blown by, like, I get that. That is like an individual mismatch. Like, that is kind of a physical attribute type of situation there. But a lot of our mistakes, and this has been the case in past years, are due to positioning. It's due to not knowing when to rotate, not knowing who should rotate, and various mistakes like that should be improving by now. We're in game 14. Those mistakes, I haven't seen consistent improvement in regards to that, right? You'll see, the thing is, when they don't make those mistakes, they're a good defensive team. And they didn't make many of those mistakes in the second half. But the first half, they made so many basic defensive mistakes that I can't come out of this game feeling all too happy with the way we played. Because I'm happy with the win, but I'm looking for certain things in certain areas of improvement, and I'm not consistently seeing them.
Yeah, and so if the first quarter would have went like we gave the effort we gave in the second half of this game, and they still scored 38 points, I could say, like, it's just like the defense didn't play well, but at least they were trying their butts off, and at least it like looked like they actually cared on that end. But there were points in this game where it looked like they did not give a crap on the defensive end, and it shows. And you cannot have guys like that on the floor. You just cannot play them. I don't care if you're a star player or like the eighth man in the rotation. You cannot come in the game and be that lazy and lackadaisical and not have the effort on defense. And in the second half, it shows you that the schemes didn't change or nothing. We didn't make adjustments. So we just had more effort. And that's why it's just frustrating to me that if you're not going to be a good team, have the effort at least. Just make it look like you're trying. And I just don't get why it takes us getting down by a bunch of points every game to start playing that way. Like, why don't we just come out like with a purpose? And it's because I feel like once again we're playing with complacency, and we think we're better than Atlanta when we play these games. Like, we think, oh, they're missing a couple players, whatever. We're missing Nurk, but we still have a good team. Like, we should win this game, and that's how we play. Like, we think we're gonna win, and we think we're a lot better than we are. And you can't play that way if you aren't that talented. And I think the Blazers are super talented, but they're not good enough to win games just by showing up. And that's kind of proven in the first half of these games. And then when they turn it on, they're unstoppable, and they come back but if they played like that more often, how many times have you called for them to play more up-tempo? When they play up-tempo, when they're down, they do well. It seems to bring out the best in most of the players on the roster. I just don't get why they don't do some of the things that we see in these comebacks throughout the beginning of the games, or implement these things from the get-go instead of having to fall behind to get motivated to do them.
Yeah, and I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. Here's the thing. What happens when they go up against a good team, like a playoff caliber team? Toronto has not played at that level. I think they're a little better than their record shows, but we barely squeaked that one out. What happens when they go up against a team that's playing well and a playoff team when they're playing like this? They get blown out and lose by 24. That's what happened against the Pacers. That's why I'm not thrilled. That's why I wasn't thrilled with that 4-game win streak. I'm happy with the results, but the process and some of the mistakes they were making had me worried. And then they go up against an Indiana Pacers team, which is well coached, a playoff caliber team, and even they were missing some guys, right? And we lose by 24 due to a lot of the same mistakes and due to them being a better team than some of the teams we're going up against. We're facing an Atlanta team, and I know we didn't have CJ for half this game and we didn't have Nurkic, but They don't have Danilo Gallinari. They don't have Bogdanovic. They were missing Cameron Reddish. They were missing there's somebody else I'm blanking on. Like, they were missing guys too. And this is a team we should be better than. You know, it's probably a lottery team. So I don't know. It's like a lot of the mistakes aren't due to missing CJ and Nurkic. So that's what was frustrating. You know, if we're struggling to hit shots because we have to play Anthony some minutes and his shot isn't falling and he's getting good looks and he's not hitting them like CJ would, okay, you know, that's understandable. That's, you know, you're missing CJ right there. But a lot of the mistakes we were making wasn't due to not having Nurkic, wasn't due to not having CJ. So that's the frustrating part of it, is I feel like, you know, a lot of the mistakes, a lot of people write them off like, well, you're missing CJ and Nurk, what did you expect? But these problems existed with those guys, and these problems exist without those guys. So it's not, those problems aren't dependent on having those guys or not. So that's kind of the frustrating thing with this. I don't want this team or the fan base to start writing off some of the issues we have due to us missing guys. You know, who knows if CJ is out for a couple games or whatnot. But here's the thing. Even with missing those guys, if we fix those mistakes, which we can still be a good basketball team. Like, we have good depth on this team. We have guys that can step up. You look at the way Gary Trent Jr. played. He was huge down the stretch on both sides of the court, right? He could, if CJ's out, he could step up, start, and play 35 minutes a game, and he could probably get you close to 20 points per game on efficient shooting with good defense. You know, like, yeah, CJ's a better player, but you have guys that can step up into roles and replace some of the lost production from a guy like Yusuf Nurkic. And Enes Kanter was great tonight. We'll touch on him. So that's the thing, is a lot of these issues aren't injury dependent. I don't want that to be a good excuse. It sucks that guys are hurt, and it will hurt us a little bit, but maybe more than a little bit. But a lot of the issues that we're showing aren't based on those injuries and shouldn't happen no matter if we have CJ and Nurk or not.
The perfect example of that is the Pelican series, right? Dame gets double teamed. We'd have no idea how to counter that, whatever. This is the third season now since that series. And we saw tonight, we almost lost this game because Atlanta started double teaming and we had no clue. We looked lost. We had no plays. We had no structure. We had no sense of what to do when that happens. And if you aren't preparing for those situations, what are we doing? Because this is exactly what happens when we play good teams or we get into the playoffs. They're going to take Dame out of the end of these games, and we have to have a counter for that. There has to be, hey, run this play. Like, we worked on this in practice. Do this. And if after 3 seasons we do not have a way to counteract that, we're toast. We don't have a chance.
So yeah. I agree with that. So I just want to pose a question. You can continue to talk. But for the people that aren't as harsh on Stotts as we were, you know, Portlandia is one of those guys. I know we, you know, maybe if Brian is in here. But let me take the donation real quick. Shout out Near012.
What's up, Near0?
Appreciate it, man. You're always supporting us like crazy, man, and it means a lot. He says, not excited at all. If Rocco keeps shooting like this, Nas might as well play. He looked like Chief on a fast break, a.k.a. horrible. Sure, he's great on defense, but if you're just going to be jacking... I mean, I'm not worried about Rocco, man. Like, his shot hasn't been quite what it is, but it's like people thought he was going to be a 40% shooter when he comes in here. Like, screw the narrative that, oh, playing for Terry Stotts, guys shoot better. Okay, that's been a narrative for a long time, and it's blatantly false. There's a number of guys who have not shot better for us, and like Covington, it's like people expected Robert Covington to come in and shoot 40% because he was playing under Terry Stotts, and they expected Derrick Jones Jr. to come in and shoot 35% because he's playing under Terry Stotts. Like, I've always hated that narrative, and hopefully that narrative doesn't see any light after this. But I mean, Robert Covington's going to be fine shooting the three ball. Like, his shot looks a little weird. It looks like he's doing something with this shot. Hopefully he can figure that out. Once he figures it out, man, he'll step up and he'll have a hot stretch where he's just burying 3 after 3 and we're impossible to guard. Like, the thing is, even if his shot's missing, he still counters for that by playing good defense.
Yeah, I don't know. He had a pretty bad game, I thought, on both ends, and most of our good play was without him on the court tonight.
And that'll happen. You know, guys will have good and bad games. You know what I mean? I just want, like, it was frustrating. Like, some of the shots that he forced. The thing is, normally he doesn't force shots, so it was a little weird. It looked like he tried to force some things. I mean, this is the second straight game. He's like 0 for 5 or 0 for 6 inside the arc. I wish he just wouldn't drive. I don't know. Like, he's not a good finisher at all. But we knew that. We knew that coming into the season. We knew he was a 3-and-D guy. Shout out to Nas. Welcome to starter membership. Appreciate it, man. We knew what he was going to be coming in. It's like some fans had higher expectations for him. I'm not worried about him. He didn't play good tonight, but most of the time he doesn't force bad shots. And, like, if he just misses shots that are good shots, you can't really complain about it. You know what I mean? Like, he's a good enough shooter that he should be shooting those shots, and sometimes guys have shooting slumps. And the thing is, normally
can't score around the basket either, though.
Yeah. I mean, that part's frustrating, but normally he doesn't try to force much in there. It seems like he has been the past couple of games, which is something you can complain about. We'll touch on him a little bit more when we get to him. But so the question I wanted to pose is, what were we doing down the stretch in the last 4 minutes when they were trapping Dame? What were we doing to attack it? Right? When we trap, teams attack it, and teams have a plan against it. What was our plan? Portlandia, if you're in here, what do you think Stotts' plan was? The offensive genius named Terry Stotts, when they started trapping at half court, there's a possession, Dame passed it across, and I've set this up and I've told you guys this is how we do it, where Melo was 10 feet behind the 3-point line, and they brought the double to Dame, and he skipped it across to Melo, and they recovered back to Melo. And then Melo gave it back to Dame, and then they trapped again, and Dame gave it to Melo, and then they recovered, and then Melo gave it back to Dame, and then they trapped again. So Dame gave it to Melo, and then he shot a pull-up. What was that possession? That's a perfect example of us not having a plan when they start trapping, which is ridiculous because teams always do it.
We got 8-second violation
against us. Yeah, I don't understand it. Was that a good plan by Stotts to do that? I don't understand what the idea was with that possession.
And shout out to Ryan Adams with the $10 donation. He said the Hawks were getting dazed. I mean, Goodwin tried to high-five Dame after his first free throw right before the end of the third quarter. Oops. Appreciate the dono, Ryan. Thanks. Yeah, they were the team coming off the back-to-back, not us this time. Last time, that's what we heard in the Pacers game. Oh, the Blazers, the lack of effort is due to a back-to-back, and Pacers aren't on one. Well, what was the excuse in the first half of this game when they're coming off the back-to-back, and we had the day off yesterday? Did we just sit around moping about Nurkic or what? We have to play. These guys should be back later this year. We have to have a good record. We can't do what we did last year and need them to come back and get us into the playoffs just to be the 8th seed, and then we likely lose in the first round. We don't want that this year. We expect better than that, and this team is far past where we should be if that's the expectations.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I don't know. Just there's just so many things from this game that just don't make sense to me, man. Yeah, you can be happy with the win, but it's we get trapped and just look absolutely incapable down the stretch and almost blow a 8-point lead, in the last 3-4 minutes. Cause here's the thing: if we miss some shots, if they play great defense and then they make some shots, okay, fine. But what were we doing in the half court when they're trapping and we're standing at half court and passing it across to Melo, who's 10 feet away from the 3-point line, to giving it back to Dame so they can trap again with everybody just standing around? Bro, that's not how you beat a trap. Stuff like that just makes me rack my brains. What in the world are we doing? I don't understand it, man. I stuff like that is just there's no excuse for being trapped and that being your plan when you've seen it for years. It doesn't make sense. So, but here's the thing. I ask okay, that possession, did we have a good plan? Because we had multiple possessions like that too. Mm-hmm. And I'll ask people who support Stotts as an offensive coach, and their responses are never make sense to me. They never make sense to me, because you'll get a response okay, Portland just says less turnovers, more rebounds. The trap is not causing turnovers, to be honest. Bro, we got a almost airballed Melo contested 20-foot pull-up against it. That's the same as a turnover to me. Whereas if we move the ball, sure, we might increase the chance of a turnover, but we're probably going to get a lot better shot than we would have instead of settling for a contested 20-foot pull-up because we're not doing anything against the trap and we're just passing the ball around near half court. So I don't understand it. I don't understand it. But the thing is like that's just like, maybe some people could say that's cherry picking, but we have a lot of possessions like that when they trap, right?
And we have just like wasted possessions too. It's not just a turnover. If you take a bad shot, that's just, it's not as bad as a turnover, but like we almost lost the game because we couldn't score like 4 or 5 straight possessions, and it just happened to be those same possessions they started double teaming Dame. Like there should be some sort of game plan every time. Like if they start doubling Dame at any point, we need you to be in this position and me to do this. And Dame doesn't even have anywhere to pass from where he's at. There's no good angles. No one knows what to do. And it's just like every time we run ISO or post up somebody, everyone just stands around and no one's moving. No one does anything. And these are such easily correctable mistakes if you are a well-coached team. And I find it hard to believe that people make excuses for that because this is stuff that you work on in practices or things from a very early age. Like 4th grade basketball, I learned how to like beat a trap or like do things like that.
Be careful talking about your basketball history, man. I've gotten a ton of hate from Melo fans and frat boys lately from that.
And it's not just it has nothing to do with like one person on the team. This has been a problem for 8+ seasons now. It's not personnel. It's not these things. It's not that like Dame's doing something wrong. This is what he's been taught to do. He's only had one coach. He is not being taught what to look for, and on top of that, he's not being taught like how to have the team in the right position to do stuff.
Yeah, here's the thing, like, and people be like, why are you so negative? We win the game. We won 5 out of 6. Like, I am more concerned with winning a game in June than I am winning a game in January, right? And to win games in June, we can't be playing like this. Mm-hmm. So it's as much about the process, like you fight all regular season to win games to put yourself in a good position for the postseason. All of this is for the postseason. So it's as important to like winning games. I don't know if it's necessarily more important than, like focusing on the process itself. Because here's the thing. If they improve these weaknesses, the wins will take care of themselves. If they improve these issues, the wins will take care of themselves. But then they'll also have a lot better chance when the playoffs roll around. So when they're not improving a lot of these issues, which will cause them to fail in the playoffs, when we're 14 games in and a lot of these issues I've seen no consistent improvement from, it has me worried about the playoffs, which is what the whole regular season is for. So it's kind of just the big picture here is they cannot continue to come out with no effort for a whole entire half. They can't continue to make some of just the ridiculous defensive mistakes they've made. And it's not like this is just something that they can't control. Like a lot of these mistakes are very basic elementary mistakes that should be fixable, like, and easily fixable. You should see consistent improvement. So that's just kind of my worry right now, is we haven't seen consistent improvement in a lot of these areas.
Yeah, and a lot of you might be new around here and be like, wow, these guys are super negative for being a loss. But here's the deal. We want this team to succeed when it matters, like Tori was just talking about. We want these issues to be corrected by the playoffs. But these are the same issues we've had in the playoffs and the reasons why we've gotten swept by some series, blown big leads in series, why we can't seem to have the same type of offensive success we have in the regular season in these series. It's why we can't defend teams well in the playoffs. All these things happen because we do not do these things throughout the season. So as these kind of games mount up and keep on adding to it, and even if we win or lose, if we continue to make these same mistakes, once it matters and once we play good teams, we will lose. And this is the problem. Like, we see it ahead of time. We've told you guys all last year that this would be a problem. It ended up being a problem the entire season. This is going to be a problem unless it's fixed. And I do not have any faith that any of these issues are fixable by Terry Stotts, because I do not believe he is coaching this team properly. I do not believe that he has the guys bought into defense, because if they were buying in, all these guys said they were going to be accountable this year. If they were truly accountable and bought into playing defense this year, our defense would not look like the effort they gave in the first half of the last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, it's like, if we have upgraded defensive personnel and we have guys that were here that are being more accountable themselves defensively, then why haven't we seen much improvement? We're a little improved, but not all that noticeable. We're still a bottom 10 defense right now. I mean, that's what's frustrating. It's frustrating because, like, I don't know. It's when the team plays well, when the team plays good defense for a half, it's like, on one hand, I'm happy, but on the other hand, I'm frustrated because it's like, oh, all of a sudden they start giving effort and clean up some of the basic mistakes they're making, and then they're a good defensive team. Why can't we do that more consistently? You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of like, I'm happy about it, but it gets me frustrated that we don't do it more, because we should be able to. That's the whole thing with it.
Yeah. Let me just say, so let me find it real quick. So 60 Trailblazer, what's up, man? He says, Eric, the players all love the coach. Yes, that's all what they say. They love him because he doesn't hold them accountable like they're saying they would. And that's the problem. Is I'm sorry, but Dame, last game especially, CJ several points this season, Melo tonight had some incredibly lazy plays on defense and getting back on defense and overhelping and stuff like that. But it's not just those three, but those three have like an ultimate pass with the coach. He's never going to get mad at them. And until he lays down the law and says, like, guys, this is not acceptable. You said you were going to play better defense. This is not it. The fourth quarter of this game, you can look at that film and say, hey, look, this is how I expect you to play in the first quarter. Why is this effort not happening in the first quarter? Until he gets them to play like that, this is a coaching issue. There is no excuse for these players not giving maximum effort on that end at the beginning of games if they are truly bought into him and the way he's teaching defense. And it's either they're not bought in or Terry doesn't know how to coach defense. So either way, we're screwed with our coaching staff, because there is no one on this coaching staff that can get these guys to play defense correctly unless we get down and have to, by necessity, you have to get stops if you want to win a game, and then they try hard. And it's not necessarily because they were playing good defense, but like I said, at least if you give the effort on that end, that's sometimes all it takes is to fly around and do some stuff and then make it chaotic a little bit. It doesn't matter if you blow assignments as long as you're trying your butt off on that end and not being lazy or not overhelping. But until those issues get corrected, we're always going to struggle to beat even bad teams like the Hawks were tonight.
Yeah, and I'm harder on this team because I hold them to a contender standard, right? I hold them to a contender standard. Like contending teams don't usually have as many basic defensive breakdowns as we do. You know, like, they don't have as many, like, they'll make defensive mistakes, but it'll be in, like, complex defensive situations with, like, just a floor setup that's, like, hard to know who's supposed to rotate or something like that. You know, whereas us, it's just, like, guys will be one pass away and 12 feet off their man. Like, for somebody who hasn't played basketball, they might not understand how egregious that is, but for somebody who's ever done a shell drill or played organized basketball, even at the middle school level, because in the middle school level they do shell drills, if you're one pass away, you're not supposed to be 10 feet away from your man. It's just one swing, wide open three, automatically. And Melo is kind of the biggest offender in that regard. Is his defensive positioning is just terrible, which is kind of, I don't know, you would think 18-year NBA veteran would be a little better in terms of his defensive positioning and knowing where to be. It's just like, that is such a basic, fixable mistake that it's extremely frustrating when it happens, and it should piss Terry Stotts off when somebody is making that sort of mistake. But he doesn't seem to get pissed off. He doesn't like call a timeout and like get on a guy when that happens. You know, it's frustrating in that regard.
And the whole personnel thing on top of that, like we saw tonight, like Kanter, if he's put in good positions, can be fine defensively. He's never going to be like a lockdown rim protector or whatever, but he's more than adequate for this team to succeed and easily win games. And same with, like, other than that we have a lot of good defensive personnel. Once again, we didn't use it in clutch situations, which is a whole nother story. But like, I just don't understand why, like, we aren't trying different things and not getting the effort. Like, because I would have a completely different mindset right now if we were trying a bunch of new things. Like we had to play Kanter instead of Nurkic, and maybe we trying something different, and Kanter just wasn't the answer, and that wasn't looking like it was mainly because Kanter was too slow or whatever. But that wasn't the case in this game at all. Like, Kanter's defense was fine. Like, it was more than adequate in this game. He actually played really well in that end, I think. But like, the problem is, like, people just excuse that, like, well, Kanter can't play defense, so what is that supposed to do? Well, I don't know. At least try something. Like, I don't know. Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, man. How it's like people will play bad defense. Enes Kanter will have a stretch where he like plays really good defense. Those stretches, I wish they were more common, but he's like a streaky defensive player. He'll have terrible moments and he'll have terrible games, and then he'll have games like tonight where he was good defensively tonight. The dude had 5 blocks and 2 steals. 5 blocks and 2 steals, and positionally was solid. You know, so it's like he'll play good defense and we'll have a terrible defensive half, and he'll get blamed, which is just the casual thing to do. Like, it's like you could easily just, okay, open up the first half box score without having watched the game. Oh, we give up 66 points. Well, it's because we started Kanter. Look, Kanter starting and played 15 minutes that half. It must be because of Kanter, you know, because we're missing Nurk. It's just the casual thing to do. You don't have to watch the game to have that opinion, right? Somebody who didn't watch the game would likely have that opinion. But if you watch the game, you notice, oh, Kanter's playing good defense, and we're still getting crushed. So the problems are elsewhere.
Yep, and I don't know if you saw it, but after the game, Kanter, Brooke said, "You had 5 blocks tonight," and he was like, "I had 5 blocks."
Yeah, that was funny. That was funny.
But yeah, I mean, he's not as good on defense as Nurk, obviously, but like, if you have a good scheme defensively and give effort, that's all it takes sometimes to win games and stuff like that. And I just don't understand how someone can watch these games and think we're giving good effort in the first half and we have a good scheme. Like, that's, I'm sorry that we won the game, just to the people who keep saying it, but it's like these problems exist. Like, if you watched that first half and thought, oh wow, this is great. I mean, I even said it. We're going to win this game because we're the more talented team, and we can get away with it. We can get away with playing like ass for 3 quarters and then just win. But like, we can't just do this all the time. Like, how many games in a row have we gotten down by like
this is
over
the
15
4th
points?
Straight game we've been down at least 16 points in the first half to a lineup that was inferior to ours.
Yep. And
because here's the thing. People are, oh, CJ played the majority of the first half. He played 19 minutes in the first half.
He played well. He played good tonight.
That is more minutes than he usually played in the first half, and he played good. So that first half deficit wasn't due to not having CJ. And you look at that lineup with CJ in it, it's better than what Atlanta rolled out there, man. It's much better than what Atlanta rolled out there. So that's the thing, is like, that's the 4th straight game in a row where we've been down at least 16 points to an inferior lineup, right? And sometimes that'll happen, but it's happening so consistently, and it's due to the same issues that aren't showing improvement, that it's an issue. It's an issue that needs to be fixed. It's just that simple, man. Like, this team is not playing good basketball right now. That's how I feel.
According to the People's Mix, the Hawks without Bogdanovic and Gallinari are better, more talented than us.
Yeah, you're tripping, man. Shout out Sean S for the $5 donation. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'll take Dame over Trae Young. I'll take CJ over any
Trae
two
Young's been
other
horrible
members.
this year too.
Yeah, I'll take CJ. I'll take CJ and I'll take CJ over Trae Young so far this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll take bro, you can't just oh god, you can't tell me that lineup was better than ours, man. You just can't. So you're telling me that when healthy, Atlanta's better than us because they're missing Gallinari, Bogdanovic, Cameron Reddish. I think that probably adds up to Nurkic, right? At least. So you're telling me when healthy, the Hawks have a better lineup than ours. I don't buy that. It's like the narrative had changed from, oh well, Olshek got us a great roster. We could contend this year. This might be the best roster Dame has ever had. To like now all of a sudden the Hawks have a better roster than ours. I don't follow that. It's like when here's what's funny. It's like when guys get brought in for this, at least this year. It's like you get guys brought in and everybody loves the acquisitions. And then they play under Terry Stotts, and all of a sudden, people don't like the roster anymore. I don't think that's because of the players. I think that is there's a different reason there. So, yeah. Positives though. Let's satisfy all the people that want us to be positive. What are some of your positive takeaways from the way the team played tonight, Eric? Maybe we could just focus on the second half. I don't know.
Yeah. So let me just find this real quick. Sean McCartney. So I made this point earlier, but I'll re-emphasize this. He says, anybody care that we are now winning games that we were down in because we weren't good enough for that last year? There's a positive. Like, we would have lost this game last year, yeah. So at least this counts in the win column, and we're above 500 still, and we're not worried about being like 7-6 right now or whatever. So that's good that we're winning these games versus losing them. But we're playing with fire. So,
yeah.
But I thought
a lot of close ones.
Dame had a pretty good game. Trent had a terrible first half, but he caught fire in the second half and was really good on both ends, like you said.
Derrick Jones Jr. had a great second half as well.
Yep, Derrick Jones Jr. came to play tonight. I wish he would stop shooting threes until he figures that out, but that's probably another story too. Yeah, Kanter, I thought our bigs were good tonight. I didn't really understand going small when Capella was in there a few times, but worked out tonight, I guess. I thought Giles, once he got comfortable, which I want to talk about this later too, I thought he had some good minutes in the second half of this game once he settled down. And Simons, I mean, he came in, didn't like mess anything up, so that's good. Like, you weren't like, oh man, Simons is in the game screwing things up again.
He got fouled on that 3-point attempt too. He should have gotten free throws for that.
Yep. So like I felt like he, like, I mean, he'll probably have to play if CJ's out several weeks. But yeah, I like when he comes in and just kind of fits in to the offense versus like trying to be Dame or CJ like Stotts kind of forces him to do last game. I like the effort in the second half, and this is I don't know how many games I've said this in a row, but like I like that we came out with that effort. I just want to see that at the beginning of games versus the third quarter, fourth quarter. And yeah, I mean, second half was much better. Yeah, that's all I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, if you just isolate, here's the thing: if we played like how we did in the second half with just the energy and not making the defensive mistakes, and we did that in the first half, I'm very happy with this game. I'm very happy with this game, and we win this game by 20 points. And Dame plays 32 minutes max, and like, and Nasir Little gets a couple minutes of garbage time. I'd be happy. I'd be thrilled, you know. So the second half was good. I mean, that might be the lowest point total we've held a team, 2.5. Yeah, a lot of the positives we'll get to when we're talking about individual players, because there's definitely some positive moments from individual players, from some different guys. Shout out Kyle Wilson, $5 donation. He says, "Man, first Nurk and now CJ. Someone want to tell Terry Stotts that if you're gonna make a deal with the devil, you need to require a finals win." That's funny. That's funny. That's funny. Appreciate the donation, man. Portlandia says, I like that, Eric, a lot better. See, here, it's not better. Like, we'll mix the positivity when we can, but we're always going to tell it how it is, which is the best way.
Excuses, yeah.
Which is the best way to analyze the game, is to tell it like it is. And explain what happened and not be happy with a million elementary defensive mistakes, right? Like there's I don't know. There's platforms out there that just sugarcoat everything that, like, I don't know. I don't understand, like, people that I don't know. Like, I like that more people watch us, but when people, like, watch us and then constantly complain about the stuff we criticize the team on, I just get confused. It's like, appreciate you tuning in, but if you want something sugar-coated, I'm not sure this is the best place for that, you know? Like, because we're honest, and we break things down how we see them, and a lot of times we're going to be critical of a bunch of defensive mistakes, whereas a lot of other media outlets kind of sugarcoat things and whatnot. So, I don't know. I am kind of confused by that, but still, of course, I appreciate people that tune in for us with different opinions, of course.
Let me put it this way. We think along the lines of what makes this team, what will make them better? What can they learn from this thing that they did wrong? So we take that approach. Instead, like, most places will just be like, oh, Blazers got the win, awesome comeback, blah, blah, blah. So we don't think that way. We think along more like a coach or a player would. And if our coach, I'm just going to say this right now, if our coach doesn't think our way, if they think like, oh, yes, we won the game, like, we don't have to do anything different, we don't have to learn anything from this game because we came back and won, and Dame saved my butt again. That's how Terry Stotts coaches, though. That's why I'm so frustrated. It doesn't seem like he does have these, like, he's not breaking things down in the manner we do. And that's frustrating that the people in charge that could make it better aren't seemingly doing this or trying to make it better. And
you got family you got to tend to, or
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We've won 5 out of 6. But for those of you who are, like, positive, right? Has the team shown, like, serious fixable issues in the past 6 games to you? Because if they have, they should be trying to fix those so they can become a better team. And I think we could all agree on that. And I feel like if you think that the team has shown no fixable issues in the past 6 games, I feel like you're just lying. You know, I just feel like you're lying to yourself and trying to be too optimistic and too positive, which is a thing that some other platforms do, which is completely fine. Everybody has their niche. Shout out to Sean Paul, $5 donation. He says, when I see Harden go to Brooklyn, I wish even more that Giannis had came to Portland. Good content, always keeping it 100. I mean, of course, I would have loved Giannis for sure, man. There's 8, the top 8 players in the league. You got 2 on the Lakers right now with LeBron and AD. You got 2 on the Nets right now with Harden and Durant, and we would have had 2. So 6 of the top 8 players would have been on 3 teams, which is kind of like how it is. But 2 of those would have been small markets, and the third is a Nets team that has never really done a whole lot. So it would have been cool that it was like... Actually, wait, no, 2... Why did I think 2 was small markets? No, I was thinking like Milwaukee and Portland, but we would get Giannis. Right. 1 would be a small market, and 2 would be big markets, but one of those big markets has never really done much. So it would have been better than like LA and Boston and Golden State after winning 3 championships, you know. So, appreciate the donation, man. It's just there's fixable issues that the team needs to be focusing on, and the team shouldn't be happy with a win when they played so bad the first half. Like, offensively, they were fine. Defensively, that's the issues with this team, and this team talked about how they need to be better defensively this year. So when you play an awful defensive half, just terrible defensive half, I don't know how you can be perfectly content just because you won, right? Because if you need to play better defense, then you should be unhappy that you were playing such trash defense the first half, regardless of the outcome. And you should be focusing on what you can do to improve that trash defense we saw in the first half. It's that simple, and that's how we look at things. You know, we look at things as, okay, it's basically just getting this team to the best place in the playoffs to give them a chance to win it all. So that's just where I come from with this. But yeah, happy with the second half, happy with the effort, happy that this team ratcheted up the effort and at least gave a half of effort instead of just a quarter or whatnot. I guess that's a positive. The second half looked really good. We looked really good defensively and offensively. You know, we were I don't know if we were better necessarily, but defensively, here's the thing. Let me just look at this. We scored 59 points in the first half. We scored 53 points in the second half. We were down 7 at halftime and we won by 6. Right? So it's not even like our offense got better. And of course, you know, missing CJ, that's probably the difference there. But our defense got a ton better, and we won this game because we finally started playing defense that second half. I mean, you talk about third quarter, Atlanta has 20 points. Fourth quarter, Atlanta has 20 points. So overall, just a lot better defensively. Do you want to hop into players, or is there anything else you want to touch on?
Well, I mean, let me just say this. Peace and Love says you guys won't be happy unless you're up by 30 after the first 5 minutes. No, once again,
people just don't get it, man.
If we see the effort we saw in the second half, in the first half, and things aren't going our way, I'm fine with it. But if you think we gave good effort in the first half of this game, then you just don't want to see what you just don't want to be negative, and you're incapable of it, because we came out of this game. Like, we were not prepared at the beginning of this game to play. It's been that way for 4 games now, and if you think we're coming out of these games sharp, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I can't. I'm going to tell you guys the truth, what I think while I'm watching this game. If you want me to be happy no matter what happens, and if they give poor effort, to be like, oh, you know what, it's okay because they tried their best. That's not us, man.
Because they didn't even try their best.
They didn't even try their best. Like, yeah, so, yep.
Yeah, you know, you can't even say that with a straight face, I feel like, after this game.
Right. But yeah, let's get to the players.
Yeah, so yeah, it's people see. Here's the thing. Let me just touch on that comment real quick. People try and like over exaggerate how we are. Like, we're sitting here, we didn't give good effort in the first half, and we're sitting here criticizing it because we made a bunch of very bad defensive mistakes, and people try and turn that into, man, you guys are so negative, you won't be happy unless you're up 1,000,000 points within 2 seconds of the game starting. Like, it just come on, man. You guys people could be critical of us and like not over exaggerate things. I think, like, you don't. Here's the thing. If it's that hard to be critical of us without over-exaggerating, maybe we're on point. I don't know. Let's move on to the players. We will start off with Damian Lillard, who had... Nope, that's the last game. I always do that. No, that was 2 games ago. Damian Lillard, there we go. 37 points. Or 36 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds, 10 for 23 from the field. He was 4 for 12 from the 3-point line. Tonight, let me check his turnover numbers. Tonight, he had 3 turnovers, which is about average for him. He was a plus 18 leading the team. Overall, very good game from Dame tonight. Played 43 of the 48 minutes, so definitely, you know, don't want to see that number, but he kind of had to with the way this game was going. Overall, just Dame his pick things up compared to the first week or so of the season, and it's fun to watch.
Yep, I thought Dame played really well. When the shot's not falling, it's good that when he puts his head down and gets to the free throw line. Also, he made 2, probably the 2 biggest plays defensively tonight. One was taking that charge, and the other the steal in the last towards the end of the game. And yep.
Dame is really good at taking charges. That charge was huge. Somebody tweeted at me like that charge was as big as a game-winning shot, and it's like I can't really disagree with that, man. I mean, you're talking about a 1-possession game; they can tie it, and you're stepping in taking a charge when a guy has a free lane to the rim. That's a huge defensive play from Dame. So there was definitely some good defensive moments in the second half from multiple guys. That was just one of them specifically from Dame, and his effort. He bears a little bit of the responsibility for the effort on defense. Like, I'm not critical of Dame hardly ever, but his defense and his energy and effort on the defensive end in the second half looked far better than what it was in the first half. And I feel like he could do a little better job setting the tone in the first half defensively by giving forth a little more effort.
Yeah, I feel that way with pretty much everyone. But yeah, Dame as the leader of the team needs to set forth that example from the get. I agree.
Yeah. So, And he needs to hold himself accountable for that. I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of hard to speculate on. Are these guys holding themselves accountable defensively? But like, I don't know. It's hard. Here's the tough part. It's hard to criticize Dame's defensive effort because he has to do so much offensively and he plays so many minutes. You know what I mean? That like it honestly could be a situation where it's not necessarily him not wanting to give effort. He's just gassed. The dude played 43 minutes tonight. But the dude's also in great shape, and you look at the effort he gave in the second half when he was playing a ton of minutes, and near the end of the game, the effort was better than it was in the first half, which you would expect it to be maybe the other way around as he kind of maybe wears out a little bit during a game. So definitely would like to see him come out with more of a spark, but he stepped up in the second half defensively, and he had a good offensive game.
So another comment from Peace and Love. LeBron paces himself and doesn't go 100 at all times. Okay, but how many times is that at the beginning of games? Like how much? Like, wouldn't you want to see an effort? And we're not good enough. We're not LeBron. We don't have LeBron. We're not good. Like, we can't afford to be these lapses if we want to be an elite, great contending team. And I'm sorry, but if we have your attitude, we are never going to contend for a title. The Western Conference Finals will be the best thing this team ever accomplishes, and I think we can all agree that that's not what we want, right? This team cannot just lay off. They're not the second great or best, according to some people. I still think he's second best. That's not a knock on him, but we don't have the second best player of all time on our team where we could just coast and not be there. We have to at least give that effort at the beginning. And like you said, if he's playing 40 minutes and he kind of at the end of games is like wiped off the floor because he's tired, that's like an excusable thing, because you can say like, look, he's getting too many minutes. Like, we need to do something. Like, he can't just give this effort on defense the entire game. But at the beginning of a game, playing a team coming off a back-to-back, there's no excuse to get outworked on defense, no matter who you are.
Kyle Wilson, $2 donation. Appreciate it, man. He says, LeBron at 80% is better than anyone on our team. I don't really disagree with that. I mean, yeah, we don't have the margin for error to coast. And if Dame coasts offensively, it seems like the rest of the team kind of follows his lead. If Dame steps it up effort-wise defensively, it seems like the team kind of follows suit. So somebody said having Nurkic or Brian said losing Nurk's energy is going to be an issue. Well, that's all the more reason why Dame needs to step up with his effort on the defensive end to start games. Because you don't have Nurkic to kind of provide that spark and that energy and cover for some of Dame's mistakes. Like, you don't have as much leeway for Dame to make mistakes defensively, and you need somebody to step up and just provide a spark and provide, an example of just playing some defense with some energy, man, because we've been sleepwalking through the first halves of games. So some people in the past have always complained about how we don't hold Dame accountable enough. There's us holding Dame accountable for something. There you go. Anyway, you want to move on to CJ, and we can talk about his injury?
Yep.
All right, so CJ McCollum, let's just go through his stat line. Let's go through his performance first, and then we'll talk about the injury. Played 19 minutes, 16 points, 6 for 11 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3. Good half of basketball, man. Just insane what he's doing from 3 right now. He's been... This year, okay, let me just throw this your way. This year, we've had 2 of the top 15 players in the league. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, CJ's been playing great. Yeah.
I would say CJ has been a top 15 player in the league this year. Maybe you can make a list of something. But
off the top of my head, mate, I don't know. Yeah,
the dude's giving you 28 and 5, shooting insane efficiency numbers.
Yeah,
that's a top 15 player, I would think. Of course, he's not good defensively, but you're getting 28 and 5.5 assists from a guy who's shooting 40. Let me look up his stats just so I know him off instead of spinning off the top of my head. Going into tonight's game, 27.6 points per game, 5.3 assists, shooting 47% from the field, 43.4% from 3. That's only going to go up because he was 4 for 7 from 3. He's been a top 15 player this season. So as people were starting to be our personnel, dude, we have top 15 players in the league. How many teams can say that? Long term, I don't necessarily think he's top 15, but so far his production this year has been top 15. I only think 3, maybe 4 teams can say that. Maybe Jaylen Brown has kind of been playing at a very high level. So maybe Boston, and then you got Brooklyn hasn't had that until now with Harden and KD, and then you got the Lakers, of course. But how many teams can say they got 2 top 15 players? He's been he's been playing at like a legitimate all-star level. He's been playing at a top 15 level so far this season. So I mean, you got a top 10 player and a top 15 player. That's very, very good. But maybe we won't have this top 15 player for a little bit. He did leave the game with a foot sprain. Clint Capella landed on his foot. Somebody had news on this about like the MRI came back fine or something.
It came out as a sprain, not broken or anything.
Yeah.
But so it depends on the grade of sprain. I think 2 weeks looks to be about the minimum. Could be much longer if it's a worse one. This CJ has had a couple of foot issues early in his career and in college.
Is it really going to take 2 weeks? Because he was playing after that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just what like the typical, like even if it's one of the lower end sprains. I mean, you never know. He could wake up and be fine. But yeah.
So if he's out, I mean, I assume he's going to miss at least a couple games. What is your plan starting lineup wise and like rotation wise?
I start Trent probably, and unfortunately that means we have to give Simon some backup point guard duties. I was hoping by this point we would have some plays he could run and just a few things to run. Like when you have your backup quarterback come in or something in the NFL or even in college and you run like a simplistic offense with just like a shorter playbook and just try to be as simple as possible for him. I wish we would take that approach with Simons and just have like some sort of like set offensive structure that we could run with him because he is going to have to play a little bit of point guard because we obviously can't play Dame 48 minutes a game. This is where I wish we would have brought in someone who could play a point guard as our two-way guy. Just you see guys like a Mason Jones had a big game tonight for Houston.
That was one of my sleepers, man.
Yeah, Jason Tate's been killing it for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like instead of bringing on Dave's cousin, like if we had a backup point guard, we could play a few, give them a few minutes and see what they can do. But Blevins and LB was out tonight, but so was Blevins. But like those are the type of guys who like shouldn't even be playing, even if we have no choice. But so Ant's going to have to step up, and he's going to have to try and run the offense with no structure and just make things happen. He obviously can get hot and score the ball. It would be nice if he had one of those games where he is actually shooting well coming off because he's going to have to be involved in a lot of pick and rolls and a lot of ISOs. So yeah, he's just going to have to find a way to run that second unit for about 13 minutes a game. And I don't know what else to do because we probably need to use our minimum spot to sign a backup big versus a point guard. Yeah. If CJ's out for a while, if it's like worse than we think, I definitely think we need to use that to sign a backup point guard and then maybe do like the route you were suggesting with our two-way contract and get someone who's eligible like an Amari Spellman just to have another big. But yeah, it's tough. Hopefully it's just out a couple weeks and we just have to
I'd rather use the two-way for a backup point guard and the last roster spot for big. I don't know. But here's the thing, it's like once Nurkic is back, I don't know. It's kind of a tough situation. Like if we had Collins, we wouldn't even really need another backup big. But overall, you start Trent, you play him 35 minutes a game, and you probably stagger. I don't know. Do you give? I guess maybe you give Anthony 24 minutes a game. Like who else would you play at the two? Maybe Rodney Hood a little bit.
I'd love to see Nas get some minutes.
So you play Rodney Hood at the 2, open up some minutes at the 3 for Nas, and keep Anthony's minutes at like 12 to 15. That's the other idea, I think.
Yeah, I think that's where it's at. Hood hit a 3 today, and he had some bounce. He almost got up and had a putback dunk, which is good to see. I just wish, like, it's okay, like, in the first half, put him out there, but, like, when it's not going well, like, give Nas a shot instead in the second half, or switch those around and maybe give Nas the first chance, and if he doesn't play well, then give Hood the minutes or something. Like, I just want to see if Hood can provide a little spark that Hood's not doing right now. So, yeah, I would like to get...
Little could?
Yeah, Nas.
Yeah, I thought you said Hood. I don't know. Maybe I'm hearing you wrong.
So, yeah, I'm not saying he's the answer or anything. I just want to see him, like, prove it on the floor that he's either ready or not ready. But I just like to see him get an occasional chance and just throw him out there every once in a while. Especially, you don't have to play Hood all the time. And I still don't want to give up on Hood, because that is one thing that could really help us if Hood ever, like, recovers and gets back to where he was. But he's just not saying, he's not playing well right now, and it's frustrating because we need him to play to get reps to get back to where he is, but it's also, like, hurting our second unit a lot to play him. And if CJ's not there, I don't want to, like, just increase his minutes or anything. I think we should still keep him about the same.
I don't think Stotts will play Nas.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with anything you said. I just don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think Stotts is going to do it, to be honest. Like, that's just my inclination. I think Anthony's probably going to play 24 minutes a game, and play. They're gonna basically play Dame and Gary Trent Jr. and probably stagger them, and Anthony's going to be the third guard instead of, like, Dame and CJ staggered with Gary Trent Jr. the third guard. That's what I think is going to happen. I would like to keep Anthony's minutes down to, like, maybe 15 and give Nas 10 minutes a game and play Rodney Hood 10 minutes a game at the backup too, just to see what that looks like. But moving on, we got Gary Trent Jr. up next. Speaking of Gary Trent Jr., he's probably going to have to step up and play 35 minutes a game, which I think, honestly, given the way he's played so far this season, like, the dude deserves as many minutes as he can get at this point. 18 points, 3 rebounds, 7 for 14 from the field, 4 for 8 from the 3-point line. He changed the complexion of this game in, like, the fourth quarter, I felt like, because he started locking up Trae Young, and he also started hitting some shots in the process. It was like his defense got himself going offensively, which I love to see. He was great. We don't win this game without Gary Trent Jr. stepping up on both ends of the court. And that's the thing. It's like, yeah, you miss CJ's playmaking and you miss his scoring ability, but you do have a little better defender in there at the 2 guard. So that is kind of the silver lining, I guess. Obviously, Gary Trent Jr. isn't anywhere near CJ's level as a player, but you do gain a little bit defensively. So maybe you can come out with a little bit more defensive energy to start these games, hopefully. You got a guy who plays with... Gary Trent Jr. might be the most consistent player in terms of his defensive energy. So having a guy like that on the court, that energy might be contagious, and you might see the Blazers give more effort on that end. Here's the thing. They should be given effort regardless. So this isn't like me campaigning to start Gary Trent Jr. over CJ McCollum because the team is coming out with slow effort. The team should just give more effort in general, and that should be held accountable, right? But since that's been a huge area of struggle, maybe Gary Trent Jr. can help with that. That's the thing. Like, you were going to miss CJ, but... and maybe he's only out a couple games, or he's only out one game. I don't know. We don't know the timetable. But Gary Trent Jr. can step up in that role and provide a lot, and he showcased that in the second half tonight where he stepped up and we came from behind without CJ and won this game.
Yeah, I felt like he took a few bad shots in this game, especially that, like, baseline fadeaway out of bounds.
He hit one of those, I think, either before that or, like, right after that, kind of in the same stretch.
And then he also took, like, right around that same time, like, a contested corner 3.
Shooters gonna shoot, man.
But there was a play where we moved the ball around, and Derrick Jones Jr. drove, and Dame, like, curled behind him, and Derrick Jones Jr. passed it back to Dame. Dame had a wide open 3, which he missed. but Cantor got the rebound, and instead of going up, he passed it back out to Trent, and Trent got a wide open three, and I think that got him like going again. And I like that Trent isn't scared to shoot that. But the one thing that stood out to me in this game, and maybe I've just missed it or the camera doesn't always show it, but I've always felt like Trent doesn't get excited like when other players make plays or whatever. But tonight I saw him like several times like get all jacked up when someone, like when Giles got a rebound and got a putback, or got fouled on one play, or like when someone else hit a three. Like I could see him like getting into it, and that was cool to see. I felt like he was a little more engaged with his teammates, and a little less focused on what he was doing on the floor. And I like players that play that way, that always, like, if someone scores, it's a team success. It's not always have to be because you did something. So I like that he was excited for his teammates tonight.
Yep, excited to see what he can do with a little increased role. He's definitely had some good moments this year and is shooting the lights out from the three-point line.
And let me just say this. I was going to say this, Sean McCartney. Thanks for reminding me. So early on in the season, we had that game where he only played 6 minutes and Stotts was like, oh, I just decided to play Simons over him and stuff. That's BS, dude. This guy deserves to play, and he doesn't deserve to have his minutes jacked, and then he got hurt the next game, so it kind of sucked for him, and then he's just now starting to play better since he came back from that injury. But, like, this guy deserves minutes. He's worked his butt off to be a good player, and he is a quality rotational player in this league. And so I feel like that's kind of messing with people's heads, the way they're being kind of used. And I'm sure Gary Trent expected not to only get 6 minutes in some games. And that kind of, makes players think. And I want to talk about this with Giles in a minute. But like, I really feel like maybe with these injuries, these players have much more responsibility and a little longer leash if they screw up. So this, like, Trent should, like you said, should be playing 30 to 35 minutes if CJ's out, and he shouldn't be looking at the bench if he does something wrong, thinking that Stotts might play Simons in the second half over him or something. Just go out there and play and not worry about that stuff.
Yep. Anime Jake wins Guess That commercial. Good job, Anime Jake. I got the whole page muted now. But here's the thing. In the browser, I have to, something has to play out loud for me to be able to, mute the whole entire browser page. So, that's why it doesn't ever happen twice. But yeah, it was a sports clip commercial. Congrats, Anime Jake. You win absolutely nothing. Anyway. I was just looking at I was just looking at his stats, and he was shooting identical to CJ from the 3-point line going into tonight's game, 43.4%. So in terms of 3-point shooting, might not be much of a drop off at all. So excited to see what he can do as a starter. Let's move on and let's talk about Enes Kanter, who filled up the stat sheet in a Nurkic-like way tonight. Oh wait, no, it didn't pop up. Hold on, here we go. Enes Kanter. There we go. Look at that stat line. 12 points, 15 rebounds, 5 blocks, 3 assists, 2 steals. That is a very Nurkic-esque stat line, and he stepped up and played good on both ends of the floor. Let me check his offensive rebounding numbers. I always got to make sure and do that. I should just start putting him in the graphic, honestly. I didn't have space for it tonight with how many different things he did statistically, but 6 out of his 15 rebounds were on the offensive side of the ball, so we got the Blazers a lot of extra possessions. He helped contribute to the Blazers getting 17 offensive rebounds. The Hawks only had 7. The Blazers shot 8 less free throws, but due to those offensive rebounds, they shot 16 more shots from the field than the Atlanta Hawks. Another thing that helped that is the Blazers only had 7 turnovers tonight, while the Hawks had 13. So the Blazers, despite shooting 39% from the field, 34% from 3, just by sheer volume of shots from the field, were able to pull this one out. And those offensive rebounds help. Enes Kanter was huge on that end, as well as another guy that we'll touch on next. I think he's up next. So Kanter defensively playing with active hands tonight. Him and CJ, I feel like, have done a good job of playing with active hands. They're not necessarily good defenders, but they've done a decent job of getting occasional deflections and getting occasional steals. CJ McCollum is let me just look this up because I am curious. I think CJ McCollum is averaging a career high in terms of steals per game. So that's the thing, as a bad defender. CJ McCollum's averaging 1.4 steals per game. That would be a career high. So that's the thing, as a defender. Like sometimes
I think you muted yourself.
No, I'm not muted.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? That's on your end. Well, I didn't do anything, so... Can you hear me?
If you can hear me, Tori, I can't hear you.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to do about this either.
Did you mute yourself in Skype?
No, I didn't touch Skype. Alright. The problem is... Okay, here's the problem. Alright. What'd you do? I didn't do it. I didn't do anything. I was just talking. No. Because it's like a 3-second delay. Yeah, I don't know what that was about. Yeah. Well, I tried muting before your Skype, or before the Skype music blared. The problem is, okay, so here's just a little sidetrack, all right? Here's the issue with my whole setup. Like, my TV...
Did you unmute me?
Yes. It's because you said you're...
Okay here.
Well, they're delayed a little bit. You're unmuted. They're a little bit behind. Yes, I got it. Here's the issue with my setup right now. Is like the TV I watch games on, I use as my second monitor. Usually I put Eric on the screen, and that's like right here. That's why, sometimes you guys see me looking here. But like half the time, it won't connect as a second display. So like I have Eric's face call to like off the right side of my screen where I can't even see it. Like, it basically is like I have two monitors, but, like, this monitor is blank. So I can't even see it unless I'm, like, in my software right now. So I'm trying to, like, drag you over. There we go. So, like, answering the call, I was, like, trying to grab the screen that I couldn't see, and, like, it's just this whole thing. So that's normally would be easy to just hang up, but, anyway, sort that out. I don't know. It's triggering me lately because my second screen half the time won't connect, and I like put together the graphics during the stream tonight. So like if I like sometimes I'll have Eric on like my main screen, and I'll have to use only half my screen. So that's why it's nice to have a second monitor where I can just put Eric's Skype call on and just capture that monitor with the software. It's just frustrating stuff, man. Like anything that can go wrong technically, like technical stuff will go wrong for me. It's just how it is. But yeah, so Kanter was great defensively tonight, stepped up on that end. As I was saying, when you're a bad defender, sometimes you can make up for that just by having active hands, sometimes you'll like, and Enes Kanter tracks the ball well in terms of like when guys bring it low. That's what I've noticed. When guys like kind of bring it low, he does a good job of like tracking the ball and getting his hands on the ball. He doesn't do a good job of like contesting up top necessarily. But you had a lot of plays where guys were driving or posting up and had the ball low, and he was getting his hand, getting deflections and that sort of thing. So when you're a bad defender, you can make an impact on that end just by having active hands and getting deflections and steals, and that can be a way you contribute if you lack in other areas.
I thought his positioning was pretty good. He's a little slow on helping sometimes, and that gives up positioning a little bit. But overall, I thought he limited that for the most part tonight. It's kind of hard when Trae Young's always coming downhill or shooting a three. I thought at the beginning of this game, they had a lot of nice passes off pick and roll where if Cantor's up more, like Trae Young is not big enough to get some of those passes off. So, but that's more of a scheme thing, I feel like. So yeah, I wish they would to push it up a little bit. But yeah, overall, I don't think we can ask for much more from Kanter than he played in this game.
Yep. Overall, like, this is the type of defensive stuff we need him to do to kind of replace Nurkic's production, but it does help him having a guy like Covington and Jones next to him who can also, do a little bit in terms of protecting the rim from the forward spots. So anyway, just want to see more games like this. He made a couple nice plays out of the short roll that Nurkic does. Nurkic is good at making plays out of the short roll, making the right pass. He had a good pass to CJ that got him a 3 early on in this game off the short roll. Those types of plays I love to see. Especially I have a guy like Enes Kanter who isn't as known for doing that as a guy like Nurkic. So overall, just like what he contributed to the team tonight.
Yep.
Let me just touch on this real quick. Shigale Breezy says, what happened to Blazers Uprise Live today? They didn't see it, was looking forward to it before the game. Today is Saturday. We stream on Blazers Uprise Live on Mondays and Thursdays. So I don't know if that was like the mix up, but we stream today's.
We don't have a pregame show every day.
Yeah, we don't have a pregame show every day. If we play on like a Monday or Thursday, we will preview that game. But it's not like a pre-game show. It's Mondays and Thursdays stream. So if we don't have a game on like a Monday or Thursday, we'll still have those streams on those days. That's the schedule. Just to clear that up. If you guys want to subscribe to that, feel free to do so. The link is in the description below, right at the top of the description. We're chasing 1,000 followers over there, and we do like a segment to start off each day where we pick based off the spreads for that day, like the NBA games that day, and we have kind of we have chat pick, whoever gets the most votes in chat. We have our mods pick, and me and Eric pick. It's honestly, I love that segment. It's a ton of fun. So if you haven't checked it out, make sure to go do so.
And for the record, the next game is Monday at noon, so we'll probably have a post-game show, and that'll just be Blazers Uprise, I'm assuming. Yeah.
We might, I don't know. We could maybe do a Tuesday stream instead, or I don't know. We could. When's the earliest tip time? We could do picks against just I don't know. We'll figure it out, because that's the thing. Is like that kind of messes with things. Monday morning, usually you don't have early Monday games, so you never have to worry about it. But it's MLK Day, so they have early games, so that'll be a little different.
We can do picks because there'll be a bunch of games after it too.
Normally we go live at like 3:30. Actually, honestly, it's a little closer to 3:45. There's a lot of like graphical stuff I do for picks against the spread. So generally between 3:30 and 4, we just have to start before 4 because most of the games tip off at like 4:10, and we need to like pick them before they tip off. Of course. But like, I know we have a game that's tipping off at 4 p.m. on a Monday, I think, in a couple weeks, and we'll go live at like 3. So we'll announce that on like Blazers Uprise YT, our Twitter page, which is at Blazers Uprise YT, if you want to follow, just to stay tuned with when we go live and when we do things. So anyway, anything else you want to say on Enes, or do you want to move on to Derrick Jones Jr.?
Let's go to DJ.
All right, so I love the way that Derrick Jones Jr. played in the second half today. That dude was. Let me just say this: 5 offensive rebounds from your small forward, pretty dang good. He had multiple steals, I think. Let me see. He had 2 steals. I think both of them were in the second half. Got some deflections. Was just super active and played with a ton of energy on that end. Had a good cut. Got a huge lob dunk in transition. That kind of is just a statement play. I love those. Just overall, this is the type of Derrick Jones Jr. we need. He was 0 for 4 from 3, but 5 for 12 from the field, including 5 for 8 inside the arc. That's what I like to see. He finished some plays. He played some solid defense, especially in the second half. And he got a lot of loose balls, got a lot of offensive rebounds, including, an offensive rebound that he kicked out to Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr. hit a 3, and that seemed to get Gary Trent Jr. going. But it started with Derrick Jones Jr. crashing the offensive boards hard, being active, using his athleticism, and getting that offensive rebound. So plays like those, you cannot understate them. He was very, very good tonight, did a lot of little things, and and I love what he brought to the table in his 34 minutes.
Yeah, like I said, I wish he would cut out the threes when he's not hitting them. But yeah, I like this game from him. I liked how active he was. I like that he, you could tell he kind of, I don't know if he really pointed, but on that one lob, he kind of like motioned towards Dame to like throw it.
Yeah.
And Dame did. And I like that Dame threw it. So yeah, I kind of wish, it's the same thing I'll say about Rocco. Like early in the games, I wish we had some plays designed to get them a good look so they can maybe, get an easy shot and get going early on. So we could see like this kind of thing throughout the whole game. Mm-hmm. But yeah, overall, I'm not going to complain about the production that he gave tonight.
Yep. So here's the thing: he's played better in the second halves lately than the first halves, and maybe that kind of coincides with us playing better in the second halves in general. But like third quarters have seemed to be his quarter the past few games, from an offensive standpoint, from scoring the ball. I know he had like a 9-point. He had like 9 points in the first 6 minutes of the third quarter a few games ago. It seems like he gets going in the second half. Would like to see it. The first half too, because I think he can have even better games than this. Moving on to Melo. You good with that?
Yep.
All right, so Carmelo Anthony, 4 for 11 from the field, 1 for 3 from the 3-point line. Hit a couple shots in the second half. I think he had a better second half than first half, which has kind of been the trend with him. It's been the trend with almost the entire team. But he was our worst defender on the court in the first half. He had he was the biggest offender in regards to the elementary basic defensive mistakes. And his positioning was off. His outside rotations were late. There was a couple times where he like kind of backpedaled on defense when he was the safety, when he was supposed to be the first one back and let somebody run the court and get a layup. Kevin Huerter's like alley-oop leak out reverse layup that he had. Carmelo should have been back. Carmelo was the safety in that situation. He was trailing the play at the top of the key. Robert Covington shot a 3 from free throw line extended, and it's Carmelo's job to get back and defend that. Just there was a lot of defensive mistakes that Melo had that were extremely frustrating in the first half. And I know he's not a good defensive player, but a lot of his mistakes are mistakes that he shouldn't be making. It's not mistakes that are due to him being limited athletically, which, I would say he is at this point in his career. But a lot of his mistakes were mental mistakes, which from a guy with his amount of experience, those mistakes shouldn't be happening. So, I was very frustrated in the first half with the way Carmelo Anthony played defense.
So you got Chief in saying Torrey wants Melo to be first team all defense at 36 years old. Come on, man.
I will, bro. Here, you know what? I will react to the full highlights of this game because I said I'm going to start doing that for channel members. I'll do like a couple reactions. I need to create a third channel, like a Blazers Uprise Extra, because I don't want to deal with copyright issues on either the streaming channel or the main channel. So if I'm reacting to highlights, obviously like they're copyrighted, so I don't want to have those on either of those, Blazers Uprise Live or the main channel over here. So I'll create a third channel, which I've been planning on doing, Blazers Uprise Extra or something like that, and I'll react to these, and I will show you and talk you through the defensive mistakes he made in the first half. All right? Does that sound like a plan? Because I don't expect him to be all defensive first team. I expect him to have basic positioning down. I expect him to not be 12 feet off his man when he's one pass away. So that stuff, it's not black and white where it's either like, oh, well, he's either going to make a million defensive mistakes or be all defensive first team. Like, come on now, man. Don't troll like that. You're better than that, Chiefin.
Yeah, I like Melo's clutchness. I like his ability to get a shot, and we're going to need that if we don't change up our offense with CJ out. So I do think we need maybe need's not the right word, but like there is value in having a Carmelo Anthony. We talked about this last game about how much defensive attention he saw from the Pacers. You need guys out there that have...
And we scored 87 points with
all
that defensive
87 points. I just don't like the way we take advantage of that. It's the same thing with the Dame double team that I talked about tonight, where we don't have any plan to counteract it. So like, why have we not come up with a system? We've had Melo. This is our second season with Melo. Like, there's no reason why we shouldn't have a plan of attack for when teams overplay him on defense. And all it would take most of the time is just have someone dive right down the middle of the paint. And if they're not open, it draws the defense of the backside open for Melo to skip pass across the defense. And it's that simple. And this is like basic basketball. So once again, there was a play where we posted up Melo and all four of the players ran back to half court and just, they weren't even on the side of the court when he shot the ball. And say what you will about Melo. Yeah, he takes some bad shots, but like, there's no excuse for that. Like, we're not even like trying anymore. Like, I don't understand why we're not using him to get better shots. And this might sound like a joke, but I almost think with CJ being out, if Simon struggles, we should like make Melo our point guard and like just have him be like, okay, you got to facilitate this and do this and like see if he can do that, because he can handle the ball, he can dribble it up the court. Like I know you say that's crazy, but like I think he's pretty capable of like running an offense if he was told to do that. Because he does what he's told. Like, he's not, like, opposed to passing or doing anything. He's just put in a position where he basically has to ISO and score and stuff like that. But
I've never... Okay. In all the, like, hours that we streamed together, I've never been so taken aback by something you've said on Skype. So, congratulations, Eric. What? Bro, if Melo's bringing the ball up, he'll literally get doubled and pressured and pick up the ball and will be screwed. Or he'll get the ball stolen from him. I mean he doesn't. Funny, he dribbles high. He's like he's like 6'8", slow guy who's not a known passer. Like I don't agree with that, man. I am shocked by that. I'll give you a chance to to defend it. But Kyle Wilson, $3 donation. He says, Eric, to be a point guard, you have to pass the ball. Here's the thing. Like, okay, I don't know.
Yeah, you could. See, I think,
but like, might as well make Giles the backup point. He's better suited for that.
Yeah, that's true too. But without Nurkic, we need him to be the backup. Whereas Melo could, take some responsibility away from Simons and ease him up to be. But
Simons would most likely play with Giles, though, right? Like.
Yeah. Okay. So they're all on the court. Yeah. Just take turns. Like I don't care. Like but what I want to see happen is that second unit without CJ. Don't do what we did against the Pacers. Just run plays and stuff like that. And I think Melo, Giles, Simons, all those guys would benefit if they had some sort of purpose or what they were doing. I think the structure or the looseness of the offense just being so pick and roll heavy and stuff like that, ISO heavy, post up heavy, I think that translates to too many people standing around. So if they had on this play, I'm supposed to go here and do this. And if Melo brings the ball up and he's like, okay, so you look for this guy coming off this. I mean, Melo's not a dumb player. You can say he's a ball hog or whatever, but he's got a decent IQ. He just doesn't have the effort or the willingness to lay it all on the line for defense all the time. But I feel like if you just said hey, we need you to run this play and do that, I think he would be fine in that situation. I talked about this last year in the Lakers series too, when Dame's getting double teamed. I feel like he'd be a good outlet at the top of the key because he doesn't always shoot that shot. He will pass to the corner if it's open and stuff like that. So I just like them to find some creative ways to run some offense instead of just standing around and posting up Melo like normal. And that might get him to maybe have a little different mentality with that second unit. I don't have to score. I can create some offense. But yeah, I might be on drugs like Kyle Wilson said. But
well, okay. Shervin's asked is Eric being paid off by Block Boy? Bro, I barely heard you talk about the awful defense he played in the first half. I don't know, man.
I'm not talking about
like, it
defense.
seems like it's like, okay, his defense was terrible in the first half. He made all these mistakes, and instead it's like, well, we should use him as a backup point guard or something.
No, okay, so I wanted, like, I just wanted to mention that before I got to the defense.
I mean,
but,
you
like,
always mention that. Like, yes, like, we could have a more cohesive second unit and, like, not have to post up Melo all the time. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't even necessarily disagree with that. But
plot twist, I've been block boy all along.
bro, I swear this man is paying you off. Like, anybody else makes the defensive mistakes he made in the first half, I swear you'd be like, his defense was terrible, and you'd be like on him. But when it comes to Melo, it's like, it's not the same. I'm just surprised.
Didn't get a chance to get to that because
go
got
ahead.
off on a tip.
Go ahead.
Okay, Melo was awful on defense. So there was 3 plays where he was standing in the paint next to another defender. There was no reason for him to help because he had defenders on his own team right next to him, also in the paint. And the ball got swung to his guy, and he lazily closed out, and they got an open 3. In the first half, that absolutely killed us at times. In the second half, there was a bad pass by Dame. Melo, lackadaisical up the court, kind of jogged. They got kicked out to him. Melo then decides to try and contest. Luckily, the guy missed the shot. But those kind of plays are what's killing this defense. And but I can't blame it all on Melo because, you know, he's not in there at the beginning of games when it's looking crappy too. But those kind of plays are, and for the Melo stands, like, we're pointing this out because it's obvious when it's Melo. Like, it's so bad. He's like so bad and so out of place that it's like, come on, dude. Like, if you can't see him being lazy on defense, like, his closeouts are terrible. It's like he's not even really trying at some points. But then in the fourth quarter, like everyone else, like, he kind of ramps it up a little bit and it's fine. And it's manageable. Especially if the other 4 players are playing good D, it's not quite as noticeable. But like, he cannot close out as weak as he's doing. He cannot get caught out of position as much as he's doing. He cannot lollygag back on defense like he's doing.
There's like, because I specifically watched him in the first half, and there was so many possessions where he was so far in the wrong position defensively and it gave up open shots. Like, he was terrible defensively. And it's not just something where, like, I can sit here and be like, well, you know, like, the rest of the team is like that, you know, which, you know, I don't even necessarily disagree with. But, like, he is by far, in the first half of this game, he was by far the worst defender. And that was with nobody else playing good defense. Like, he was by far the worst defender. By far. I don't know. I just don't want to be out on an island because it's like, I don't know. These you know, I don't want to be out on an island every time I criticize Melo, and you hold him pretty accountable. I'm not saying you don't, but like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand how you're not more frustrated with like just the defense he played, because I was very triggered. I was very, very frustrated. Like, I didn't want to watch the game with them in. I don't know. And I feel like for most players you're the same way. I don't understand it. That's just, I mean,
you're like super over the top every time he makes a mistake. I just said he was terrible on defense, named 5 plays where he was bad. Like, I don't know what more I can say about that.
Yeah.
Like, how am I not holding him accountable? I think I don't know. I feel like you're being a little unfair right now.
Maybe I am. I don't know. I feel like I'm out on an island when it comes to Melo a lot of times, and he was just he was terrible defensively today. There's no other way to put it.
You fully admitted that you're just like trolling.
That opinion is not to troll. Some of it 100%. But like, when I legitimately criticize, like,
right,
he was terrible tonight. You know, he was terrible. Like, I don't know. It's frustrating for me. It's frustrating. I do agree. Like, here's the thing. It's not even like a disagreement thing. I don't know. I just feel like he was terrible. Like, and there's really no other way you could say it. Like, he was terrible in the first half defensively. I don't know.
I did say that.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess I'm hearing it different. But, when it comes to Melo playing defense, man, like, for him, it's it's stuff that he should know. That's also why I guess I get so frustrated at it. Is it's like mental mistakes that an 18-year vet shouldn't be making. If it's a rookie, I get it. If it's a second-year player, I kind of get it. You're talking about an 18-year vet that is 12 feet away when he's from his man when he's one pass away. Like, I just can't wrap my head around it. Maybe I just need to, like, let it go, but I can't wrap my head around that. That is so, like, blatantly bad that it's frustrating, man. It's triggering. It's like, how do you have no clue where to be when you're playing defense off the ball? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I think it's just magnified because, like, I mean, I see other players doing it too. So, like, it's hard for me to get mad at Melo when Stotts needs to chew his ass out or, like, not play him when he does that, right? Like, he should be benched immediately. Giles, Trent, Simons, Kanter, Nurkic, any of those guys make those kind of blatant mistakes, they get some sort of punishment for that, or won't see as many minutes, or have their role reduced, or something like that. Whereas Melo still plays like his 25 to 30 minutes, no matter what happens on the court, and that to me is a sign that Stotts doesn't care. So when I see Melo doing that kind of stuff on the court, I guess I just see that as Melo is just added to Dame and CJ as the players that Stotts refuses to hold accountable and refuses to do anything. So that's why I guess I'm a little harsh on Melo himself for that. I agree that both Dame, CJ, and Melo have times where they're absolutely terrible on defense, but like the fact that this hasn't been addressed and it's been a problem with multiple players other than Melo, even in times when Melo wasn't even on the team, it's just frustrating to me that we're still talking about a Stotts team that has these breakdowns on the back ends of rotations, whether it's someone who should know better or someone who doesn't know better. It just makes me really mad.
Yeah, I just think he's the worst offender when it comes to those types of mistakes. Yeah. And it's not something where I'm literally... Like, I did not go into this... I went into this game the first half, like, I'm going to focus on Melo defensively. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to focus on Melo defensively so I can criticize him, man. Like, no, I would rather he played good defense, and I could say, wow, Melo's playing good defense today. I am not, like... I'm confident in my takes, but it's not, like, to the point that I'm going to be serious about criticizing a guy who's not, like, who I shouldn't be criticizing. Like, all my criticisms of his defense are because, like, of what I saw. And I will react to, and I will point all that stuff out. I feel like he's been this year, like, by far, like, and he'll have good defensive moments, but he's been by far the biggest offender in terms of basic fixable mental mistakes, like mentally. And it's I don't know, like a guy like Kanter, it's a lot of the times where he has mistakes. It's like, oh, he's trying to deal with a ball screen and he's just plays like he's stuck in cement. You know what I mean? That's a little different than like Melo consistently over-helping or under-helping or rotating way too slow or jogging back on defense when he's the safety or playing 12 feet off his man when he's one pass away. You know, so that's where the frustration comes in with me, is I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on that. And then I saw mistake after mistake after mistake in that first half especially. He tightened it up in the second half. He was better in the second half, but I feel like he is kind of the biggest microcosm of some of the defensive mistakes. Is like in a lot of these runs in the first half, it came against our bench because of mistakes like some of the mistakes that Melo makes. You know, obviously there's a lot of other issues. It's not just a Melo issue at all. I just think he's the biggest offender, and it kind of gets my wrath because of that.
Yep. I just think I'm just so like disgusted with our schemes and effort on defense that I've stopped by blaming any one person for that. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like this again, like we're still dropping the big in this game, or we're still doing this. So we're not trapping Trae Young off of like a pick and getting him to make tougher passes, and we're still like can't rotate. We still don't know how to close out. And that's why I'll keep saying this, even though he doesn't have a great record at Vanderbilt, but like when you have a guy like Jerry Stackhouse who doesn't matter who the player is, he has a grade for your defense that game and holds you accountable if you don't reach a certain percentage on your closeouts and your rotations and your on-ball defense, all that kind of stuff. If he's talking to you every game, that he's not like that, and I don't feel like any of that happens. So like I don't feel like anyone on this coaching staff is even like telling Melo that he's doing something wrong. So like
yeah, I hate the legacy.
He keeps doing that because like I feel like there's no one tells him that he's in the bad position or anything. So yeah,
I hate the legacy pass. He has like a legacy pass. I hate that. I hate. Yep. Oh god. Also, by the way, to all the Melo stands who, I mean, there honestly there's just one. There's really not much in here, but like. What's funny is every time I criticize Melo Stan or Carmelo, I have these Melo stands that come into the chat and like leave a toxic message that gets automatically held for review because like it's toxic, you know, they cuss in it or whatnot, and then a mod hides them in 3 seconds. I've realized the past few streams that there's a lot that I don't even see their comments because they're toxic comments, and my mods do a good job of immediately hiding their accounts. So don't even try. Don't waste your time. If you want to waste your time, go ahead. But my mods are just going to, you know, sweep you away. So appreciate Trevin, Reese, and Westbrick for doing the job that they do. You can come in and say why I'm wrong about like his defense, but the type of stuff that just got hidden, yeah, that ain't gonna work, my guy. So anyway, it's always a hot topic, Carmelo Anthony. You know, I do like the way he's playing offensively a little bit better, some of the shots he's taking. His three-point percentage has been insane this year. I hope he can keep it up because, honestly, like, he's been a decently efficient player. It's just, here's what's frustrating with me. It's just the defensive mistakes he's making are fixable. Like, they're mental mistakes. It's not due to him physically lacking the ability to be in the right position when he's off ball. You know, so that's the thing. It's just like, man, if you were making these defensive mistakes, I feel like we'd be like you'd be a much better player, you know. If you like, I don't expect him to be a good defender. He ain't gonna go out there lock LeBron up or anything. But if he was a better team defender, better off-ball defender, was just in the right spot a lot more consistently, he wouldn't really be porous on that end. He wouldn't really be terrible on that end. He'd still be probably a little bit below average, and that's, you know, due to him being 36 and not all that athletic, but he'd be doing the best job he could. Whereas like when he's not jogging back on defense and he's, you know, completely out of position, he's not doing the best job he possibly could defensively. So that's why I want to see continued trend towards, you know, less isolation and making the right pass and shooting more threes, and not any of the like, and not halves like we saw tonight in the first half where he just made defensive mistake after defensive mistake. I wish I couldn't say anything bad about Carmelo. I wish I could talk about him scoring 50 points per game and playing amazing defense, right? I don't want to like criticize him. I'll troll Melo fans a little bit because they're so over the top and toxic, but overall it's like I don't want to criticize Melo. I want him to play well. I don't want him to make all the defensive mistakes he made in the first half. That's where I come out at.
And once again, I wish we would find a way to get him some corner threes like throughout the game. The 1-3 hit tonight was like one of those, no, don't shoot that. Okay, good shot.
Yeah. He has one of those again.
It was a bad shot, but like, you know, he's clutch enough and confident enough in his shot to hit those kind of shots. And once again, we're going to need him to hit some shots and be clutch in the fourth quarters of these games without CJ because, honestly, other than Dame, we don't have a lot of clutch-type players on this team.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, anyway, let's move on to, I don't know who we got up next. We got a couple more players. Let's get through them pretty quickly here. We got Robert.
Real quick, too.
Yeah.
Just real quick. I did like that few plays he did attack the basket pretty hard.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was good. I wanted to mention that.
I even tweeted out something positive about Melo, believe it or not. I said that was a good take for Melo. The one where he drove and drew a foul on Clint Capella, man. I want to see more of that. In the post-up he had against Solomon Hill, where he just bullied his way inside and got a layup, I want to see more of that when he's, like, ISO'd in the post. That's the thing, is, like, if nobody's moving and nobody's, you know, and he's isolated, like, I don't give him a pass for shooting to turn around fadeaway too just because nobody's moving. Like, he could either pass it out or attack, you know, and don't necessarily settle for that, you know. I'd rather see it, if he's going to shoot a turnaround too, shoot it from 10 feet instead of 18, you know, which, like, that's kind of my issues. A lot of times when he is ISO'd, he settles for for a shot that I don't like, and I feel like he could get a better shot out of that situation. You know, people should be moving. I agree with you on all those points. It's just like I want to see him play stronger and go downhill and do, you know, play a little bit of the bully ball that he ended up playing in that I think one of the possessions was the first half, and then that drive he had where he drew the foul on Capella was the second half. So I definitely want to see more of that.
Yeah.
Shout out Sean S, $25 donation. That's large donation, man. Appreciate it. He says, thanks, guys. Good game analysis. Thumbs up to Trent starting. Yeah, I'm excited to see what he does. Shout out to Sean S. Are you new to the community, Sean? I maybe I've missed your name in previous streams, but if you're new to the community, welcome. Glad you found our stream, and I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, and as for Trent starting, I haven't heard these people much this year, but in previous years, we've heard the, just get CJ off the team crowd a little bit and start Trent. Saw that in the bubble a little bit. So those type of people will get what they want, even though CJ has been playing great this year. It will be interesting to see what Trent does in that spot.
Yep. So let's move on and talk about Robert Covington. 1 for 13 from the field, 1 for 7 from 3. You don't like that. I like the rebounding, 10 rebounds. 3 assists, made some solid passes. Forced a lot of shots on drives, which I don't think he should have. The threes, I don't really have a problem. Like, he forced a couple contested threes where it's like, dude, you're not hot. But, I don't know. Here's the tough thing. It's like, with it, when you're not shooting well from 3, you want to remain confident in order to start hitting. Because if you start letting that mess with, like, yourself mentally and you lose confidence, you're not going to start hitting. You have to keep that confidence in your shot, even during the downtimes and the slumps, if you're going to get out of it. So I feel like a couple of the threes he forced were a product of him trying to keep his confidence in his shot and forcing a couple contested ones, trying to remain confident and still, like, you know, be aggressive on the offensive end, hoping that it would come to him. So I didn't like those shots, but I also kind of understand the mental aspect of it. In terms of driving the lane, that's not his game, really. It seems like he needs to know when he's not going to get a good layup off and then just pass it out. I'm cool with him driving and maybe sucking in the defense. It just seems like every time he drives, he does suck in multiple defenders, but then he tries to just flip up some stuff that has no chance of going in. So I would like to see him, you know, kind of do a better job of kind of reading the situation if he's trying to slash and knowing if he can get a decent layup off or if he needs to, you know, come to a jump stop, pivot, pass the ball out.
Yeah, this is a pretty brutal shooting game. I don't know. Like, shooter's going to shoot, right? But I don't think he's been good enough this year to take this many shots. But then you don't have CJ. So, like, he's going to have to pick up the offense if we're going to, make up for some of that. So he does need to keep shooting. His percentages will even out eventually. But I mean, he's really, really brutal shooting the ball right now, and I'm not going to make excuses. He's got to hit him. He's got to hit a higher percentage. He's got to be better than this.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look up it. I'm curious to see what he was shooting going into this game from the 3-point line. He was shooting 33%. He's a career 35.5% 3-point shooter. So it's not even like, I mean, tonight was brutal, but like 3-point wise, it's not like he's that far off. I feel like people were kind of overestimating his 3-point shooting ability. Last season, he was only 33.5%. The season before, he was 38%. The season before, he was 37%. So I don't know. Like, maybe this is kind of who he is as a shooter, like a 33%er. From 2, last season, he shot 59% on 3.5 attempts per game. This season,
and what is it this year?
35%, and it's gonna drop lower. So I don't know what the issue with him is shooting on the perimeter or shooting from the interior. I think that'll improve more than his 3-point shooting will improve. I think they'll both improve a little bit, but I think like you look at him, he's 49% inside the arc. Like, that's not terrible. It's not necessarily good, but it's not terrible. 35%, it's probably going to be 32% maybe after this game. That's terrible. So I don't know what the issue is in that regard, but that just looking at
What he shot from 2 the past 4 or 5 seasons, it's an aberration. So I would expect that to regress to the mean. I'm not happy with it right now, though. So it's kind of just like I'm confident in him long term, but currently he's not really getting it done offensively.
Yeah, and I mentioned this earlier with Derek Jones. I wish we would run some sort of play to get them going. I think Dame and CJ are fine, not necessarily, having to get them going. They're fine. They can get going themselves. Mm-hmm. So, like, those two in particular, Kanter can get going by getting an offensive rebound putback or something like that. Whereas Derek Jones and Covington, once again, to use a football analogy, like a lot of teams script their first 15 plays or whatever. So like I would like a couple of scripted plays at the beginning of the game, maybe to get those guys going on a dunk or an easy lay-in or something, or maybe like a mid-range curl shot or something, elbow jumper, just something to see the ball go in, and then hopefully that can expand their confidence throughout the game, and maybe we'd see a little better shooting from Covington if he just sees that ball go in early on.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his playoffs last year, he had a 22-point game, he had a 21-point game, he had an 18-point game, a 17-point game, a 14-point game. Has he even had a 14-point game this year? I mean, he played, and that's only in 12 playoff games. He's played 13 games right now. I want to look at his game logs for this year. He did have a 14-point game against Chicago, where he was 4 for 9 from 3. He has a 12-point game. Every other game he's been in single digits. So, yeah, I don't know what exactly the issue is, man. It's like maybe we're getting him more shots, but hypothetically, or just based on the narrative, normally players come in here and get better shots. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly where the issue is. He's still been a positive in most games, or at least the team has had a positive plus minus with him in the game. Of course, he's playing next to Dame and CJ. But even if he's shooting bad, I still think he can help us win games just with how good he can be defensively. I feel like he didn't really make a huge impact defensively tonight, but it's not something where his shooting makes him, if Melo goes 1 for 13, he's killing the game that game because he's not a good defender and he's probably making a lot of defensive mistakes, whereas a guy like Robert Covington or Derek Jones can have a positive impact on at least one side of the floor. So it's a little different in that regard. So yeah, I hope he can figure out his shooting because we brought him in to be a legit two-way player, and right now he's not really doing much offensively.
Yeah, maybe it's as simple. Excuse me.
Bless you.
I had to sneeze. Yeah. But anyways, maybe it's as simple as just running him when we do the stupid dribble handoff things, run him through a dribble handoff, even though it's not meant for him to score, but at least he's touching the ball or something. Mm-hmm. So he's more comfortable when he shoots, or occasionally he's the pick and roll screener, especially if we're going to play smaller lineups, let him set some picks or something for Dame, and maybe he can get a pick and pop open on one of those. Just try to get him a different type of shot than the shots he's getting. If he's not going to hit those, maybe this is partly on him too. Maybe him and Dame need to figure out where he likes to catch the ball, because as a point guard, you should be thinking about when you pass to someone, not just if they're open or not and give them the ball, but passing to them in their most comfortable shooting pocket and all that kind of stuff. Because it does seem like he kind of, I don't know, he has this weird hesitation in the middle of his shot before he shoots it, and I feel like his hands are getting out of place or something. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's some stuff technique wise he could clean up, but maybe he's just not catching the ball comfortably, and there would be an easy fix or tweak to that.
That does seem to be an issue. Yeah,
they do need to figure out talk, communicate, find out, hey, am I getting you the ball in the right situation? Is it something that I can do to improve where I'm passing to you? Do you like it in your left hand or right hand, or do you like to catch it off the bounce, or just something, and just try to find if there's some sort of thing they can do it to make him feel more comfortable.
Yep. Let's wrap up these couple two players. We are getting low on time here. We generally try and keep it at 2 hours or a little bit lower. So Rodney Hood, 3 points, 3 rebounds, 1 for 6 from field. It was nice to see him hit it 3, but he just... It's that catch-22 where it's like he's not helping the team right now, but he could be a big help to the team, but the only way he could end up being a big help for the team is if you play him right now when he's not helping the team. You know, so, I mean, you keep playing him and you see if he can figure things out and get some bounce back. Here's the thing. We need to get him more good looks, I think. We're not doing a good job of getting him good looks with the bench lineup. And maybe it should be something where he plays, 3-4 minute spurt near the end of the first, and then he plays like a 4-minute spurt at the end of the first half with the starters, and maybe he gets good looks, gets some of the looks that, might be going to a guy like Derek Jones Jr. And you maybe stagger those two guys a little bit. I don't know. Like, they got to figure out a way to get this process moving faster with his improvement. It's just like, honestly, a guy coming back from this injury, like, obviously there's going to be a period where he's getting... adjusted and getting back into the flow. Yeah. But it's harder if you're not getting clean looks and you're not getting comfortable looks and you're not able to build a rhythm off a diet of good shots. And I feel like his shots, like it's rare for him to get a wide open catch and shoot 3. He got one tonight, knocked it down. I think he got a second. It was a little bit deeper and it was a little bit more contested and he missed it. And then like it's trying to pull up over guys from the mid-range, which isn't falling right now. And I expect that to start falling. It's just something where, like, I think he needs confidence, and I think you can build that by getting him better shots. So I think that's something the team needs to try and figure out a way to do.
Yeah, it's like maybe that's the key is giving him some of those Covington shots, and like you said, playing him at the end of the first quarter or second quarter with the starters and just camping him in the corner. And hope he can, knock down a few quarter threes, get going a little bit. I was hoping when he hit that 3 tonight, it would get him going. I feel like that little post up he had, if that just rolls in instead of out, like maybe that like gets his confidence in his little mid range turnaround going. But this at some point there's going to have to be a situation where as much as Rodney is a good guy and we want him to be back and we need him to be a decent player, part of this rotation, I think, to ultimately take the next step as a team, because he's another one of those guys who can get his shot when the offense isn't going well. I think at some point we have to start wondering if we're doing a disservice to the team overall for him getting minutes. But I also don't know if that won't help the situation or him out at all if we just bench him either.
Here's the thing. Everybody loves Nasir Little, right? Are we sure he's that much of an upgrade? Are we sure he's going to come in and shoot much better?
Well, we don't know. But
it's not a high bar to pass, so I think Nasir Little might be a little bit better for this team, but it's not like we have like a proven guy that we're benching for Rodney Hood or anything. So that's why I'm down to keep giving him the minutes and seeing if he can work things out, because his upside later on in the season, and maybe for the playoffs is pretty high. So I'm hoping he can get back to that. It's definitely something that we just got to continue to be patient with, as hard as it is with some of the nights that he's had.
And I guess what I was saying can't happen until CJ comes back anyway, because we are going to have to give him some minutes. I wouldn't ramp him up more than what he's getting. I think he's playing enough. But like I said, tonight, like he wasn't really good in the first half, even though he seemed like he was moving well, which is a good sign. But like I just like to see every once in a while just say, hey, Rodney, like this is nothing against you. We're just going to see what Nas has tonight, see if he can give us something different. And you could be right. Nas could, struggle and not play well. I just like to like give someone else a chance every once in a while just to see if they can maybe do some things that he's not doing.
Here's the thing, though. Question for you. He's played 10 games this season. How many minutes do you think he's played?
Probably about 15 a game.
Just total. In 10 games, how many do you think he's played?
So
150?
That's like 130 to 150.
131.
Okay.
That is how much Dame and CJ play in a little bit more than 3 games.
Right.
So it's not like he's had a ton of playing time. So maybe it's a situation where he actually needs a little bit more run. And with CJ being out, I mean, your alternative is playing, Anthony Simons 24 minutes a game? I wouldn't be opposed to one of these games just giving Rodney Hood 20 minutes. And just seeing what he could do. Because especially the past... Let me just look at his game logs for this year. His past 5 games... It's been, since coming back from injury, he's gotten 16 minutes, 15 minutes, 14 minutes, 10 minutes, 11 minutes, I guess it's past 6, and then tonight he got 13 minutes. So he's barely getting enough run to build any sort of rhythm, and that could be something that might be contributing to it. Like, maybe if you give him 20 minutes, he might, in the second half have had enough burn to get comfortable in the game, and maybe you start, playing better, and maybe that gets him going. I don't know. He's only had 130 minutes after this injury, so it's still very early. I mean, see, 36 minutes a game. Let's just divide 131 divided by 36 minutes. That's 3.5 games for Dame or CJ.
Yeah, I'll just say I completely am not writing off Hood. That's not what I'm saying, and I was the first to say this year probably won't be anything close to normal Rodney. If anything, it'll be a full season beforehand. And yeah, sounds okay. Maybe you're right, but I just don't see how you can give him more minutes based on how bad he's been struggling when in the game. Well, but I know you're saying that might fix that, but I just don't. Then
there's no point. I don't know. I almost feel like if you're not going to try some things to get him going, then there's no point to even play him in the first place right now.
One thing we're forgetting, too, is they did say that he would be limited on minutes. I don't know how long that's going to last, but...
He was getting 16 a game before his injury. He is over the 15-minute mark, and that's been cut down to 10. And he had some... I don't know. I mean... He had a game where he was 1 for 2 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, his second game of the season against Houston. His next game, he was 2 for 6 from the field, 1 for 2. That's not great, but... and then the game after that, he was 1 for 2 from 3. So the 3 straight games, he shot 1 for 2 from 3, and then he got hurt the next one. It's is he really physically incapable of playing 20 minutes? Is that really putting him at risk? I mean, maybe it is, so maybe I'm wrong. But, if it's not putting him at risk and he can handle it, then I feel throw him out there for a game for 20 minutes and see if he gets going in the second half. It's it's not like our bench is playing great basketball anyways. It's not like we're getting good shots or having I don't know.
But he might be contributing to that a little bit.
Yeah, he might be, but I mean, if you're going to continue to play him with the hope that he gets going, you have to try some more things to get him going, or else I feel like the 10 to 12 minutes a game you're playing him right now is just a waste. Is just a waste. If you're really going to try and get him going, you need to do more of an effort. Maybe it might be playing him, with CJ being out, you have more minutes to go around. What is Anthony Simons going to shoot that much better? Anthony Simons hasn't been shooting well. Instead, giving Anthony Simons 24 minutes a game, give Rodney 20 and see how he does, if he can physically handle it, of course. And try and run a couple plays for him. Maybe give him some confidence that a play is being ran for him. I don't think they're running any plays specifically for him, unless it's just dumping it into him into the post. Run him off a screen, go into the mid range, going into his left. Maybe he has confidence in his shot because the play is being ran for him. Try some different things to get him going. I feel like the team could do a better job of that. And it's if you're going to try and just play him over and over and over again when he's not playing well to try and get him going, you should be trying more things to get him going, so you're not just wasting it.
I feel like we could say that about just about everyone.
I mean, different situation with a guy coming back from injury and whatnot. So,
Anyway,
we don't do a good job of making it easy for anyone.
In terms of the plays being right, I agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah. Like Robert Covington, I mean,
exactly.
Derrick Jones Jr. is I agree with that part 100%. Moving on to the last guy, Harry Giles, we got who got some burn, and he's going to get some burn as the backup center. 3 points, 5 rebounds, 1 for 2 from the field. He played. Let me see. He played only 11 minutes tonight. Kanter played 29. You had 8 minutes with Covington as the center. I would like to see Giles get a little bit more burn. I thought in the second half he did a lot of little things, and he brought a spark of energy that the team needed. Like, you look at the box score, and it's not impressive. 3 points, 5 rebounds in 11 minutes, 1 for 2 from the field, 1 for 2 from the free throw line. He had an assist, which was a nice pass to Gary Trent Jr. He had a foul. Like, that doesn't jump out at you, but I feel like he's the type of guy that does little things and brings energy, and once he gets more comfortable, he'll start doing, a little bit more on the offensive end. I still really want to get him like a consistent, 16, 18 minutes a game with Nurkic being out, because I think he can provide a lot to this team. He needs to get a little bit more comfortable, and I would like for us to utilize his playmaking a little bit more like we did with Nurk, which I haven't really seen us try and do with Giles in the game. So I'm hoping that that Giles blossoms in the next 8 weeks with Nurkic out, but it remains to be seen.
So here's what I think. A player like him needs to be allowed to work through some things, to occasionally make mistakes, because he's so athletic, so dynamic. He can make so many plays. He's going to mess up sometimes. He's going to get lost sometimes. He's going to be out of position on defense sometimes. But, like, it's not like a Whiteside thing where he's chasing a block or something. It's just because he's so athletic. He thinks he can block someone's shot. Maybe he can't get there in time or something. He's out of position for a rebound, whatever. But I feel like Stotts has messed him up already. And perfect example of that is this game right here tonight. When Kanter went out in the first quarter, it should have been Giles coming in. Instead, he waits like a few minutes and then doesn't bring him in till several minutes later after we ran the small ball lineup. And I'm not saying you can't run the small ball lineup, but like that would have done wonders for his confidence if Stotts was like, okay, you are our backup center now. You are going to be the next in line when Kanter comes out. This is your role. You are going to get minutes. Don't worry about like making mistakes. Just go out there and play. But I feel like so far this season, he blows up in the first preseason game, doesn't play until like the second half of the second preseason game, blows up again, and then doesn't play really at all since then. And then, so the times he has played in meaningful games, he's been thrown in at the beginning of a fourth quarter, and if he messes up one time, he's coming out of the game, and that's like a lot of pressure on him. He's always looking over his head. It's the same thing with Simons and running the offense and stuff like that. Like, these guys cannot play in a way where they have to constantly be worried if they miss a shot or do something wrong that they're going to get out of the game, and they don't know when they're going to get into another game after that. And I think we've kind of messed up his confidence after we could have expanded on that after he showed some success early on this team. If we would have built upon that instead of stunted that, I feel like by now he would be absolutely killing it. And you saw in this game, he got some run in the first half, didn't look great. In the second half, he was actually playing really well because he actually had confidence, knew he was going to be out there for a few minutes, and could just play. But I feel like up until the fourth quarter of this game, they didn't really give him a fair shot at minutes. And then everyone's like, oh, yeah, see, you overrated Giles. Like, you guys were all, not just us, but tons of fans were like, oh, you
fans
thought
really
Giles
saying
was
that
special.
Based off 11 minutes that he played when he has had no burn, hasn't had a chance to get comfortable. People are ridiculous, man. It's almost like, God.
No, Rip City Project today posted something that said we should trade him to the Houston Rockets along with the second-round pick we don't have for David Nwaba.
Why?
I don't
what?
know.
Huh?
I don't know.
That's oh my God, man. Good.
But I had plenty of people tell me, even today before the game and in the first half of this game, like, I don't know why anyone ever thought anything good of Giles. He sucks. There's a reason why Sacramento didn't pick up his contract. There's a reason why they let him go. There's a reason why he had to sign for the minimum. All this stuff, and I'm just like thinking, like, God, like, he's always lost on offense. All this stuff, but like I said, I mean, this guy just needs to get out and play, and he's much better in a more like up-tempo like thing where he can show off some of his skills. And like, how often tonight he had one nice pass to Gary Trent, but like, how often does he get to show off his passing skills or his ability to drive and stuff like that? Like, we're not doing any favors. Like, all his points are coming off of offensive rebounds and energy type plays. We're not really like putting him in the best chance to maximize his skill set, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody thinks he played bad tonight, I don't know what the hell they're watching. That just pisses me off, man. It's like people were looking for any chance to jump at Giles. I mean, I guess that's the same with me with Melo, right? But like, Giles does little things where Melo doesn't really do a lot of little things that Giles does, you know? Like, and people underappreciate, you know, a lot of things Giles could bring to the table. I thought he played good defense tonight, made a hustle play, forced a turnover where he denied Clint Capella the ball and got a steal off that. Rebounded the ball well. 5 rebounds in 11 minutes is very, very good. That, you know, if he played 33 minutes, that'd be 15 rebounds, right? 1 for 2 from the field. Dame got fouled on a drive, but if they didn't call that foul for Dame, he would have had a putback and would have had, you know, better stats for that. And you're talking about a guy who has not really gotten a chance, at least not a consistent one whatsoever, and who's only playing 11 minutes. That's just ridiculous for anybody to criticize him or say like definitively, oh, you were wrong about Giles. Like, it's just you got casual people that want to try and get a point over on others and will jump at any chance to say Giles isn't working out when he's played perfectly fine and only played 11 minutes. This is for like, he doesn't ever get a chance and needs some time to get comfortable in an offense and in a team structure that he hasn't been in. Like, he hasn't been here for 5 years or anything. So I don't get that.
I think Trevin hit the nail on the head. It's because you started seeing that again today, that you mentioned this in a great tweet that you had. The people are starting to turn on Olshey again, and instead of Stotts, which I don't get at all, like, yes, you know,
who's turning on Olshey?
Well, like, you even mentioned it, but like, a lot of people are saying because Stotts doesn't play Giles, he can't be good, right? So like, Stotts doesn't have the pieces because he can't put Giles in the game, obviously, otherwise he would do it, right? Mm-hmm. But that's the same thing, like he also mentions with Nas last year when he was actually playing good defense and our defense was absolute garbage. Like, Stotts didn't give him a legit chance to prove that maybe he could change that a little bit. And same with Wenyan Gabriel, who played some great defense and then gets benched in the playoffs, and we got AD goes off on us the next couple games. And then people are being like, well, Nasir Little's a rookie and Wenyan Gabriel's like a crappy like 15th man. Like, there's no way those guys would have helped us. But it's like, okay, but like, you know, they could have. Like, they have defensive skills. Like, we need defense, and those guys are both good defenders. So like, we don't even give them a chance. So like, I don't see how that's the same thing with Giles. Like, I just feel like if he got a consistent role on a team and was healthy and was getting at least 20 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes a game, and he knew he was going to get those instead of not even knowing if he was going to play some games, I feel like he would be really helping this team right now.
Yeah, I don't know how the hell people who thought Olshey had a good offseason can start criticizing him now. Based off what? What has changed?
Well, the teams.
Like, yeah, it's just like, what has changed in terms of Olshey and what he's done. Like, he hasn't even done anything since the offseason. You thought he did a good job in the offseason, so how can you criticize him now? Like, I guess you could criticize him for not using the the second two-way spot when we need her or something like. But that's a two-way spot, or last roster spot. But that was a salary thing, and they might use it now that Nurkic is out, and they have additional salary because Nurkic isn't going to get his played games incentive. You know what I mean? There's nothing to criticize Olshey from. So if people were criticizing him now when they thought he had a good offseason, that's just them being ridiculous, man. It's like there's literally nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with Giles. He can be a backup center in this league. He's kind of proven it before for the Kings. The Kings made a terrible decision not picking up his option. The Kings make a ton of terrible decisions. Since when are we going to put stock in a decision made by the Sacramento Kings? And not even like wasn't that decision made by Vlade Divac? Like they got new front office in place, which I think is probably a better front office. Vlade Divac was terrible running that team. And and we're putting stock in a decision of him not picking up Giles' option like it means something. Really? Since when do we put stock in that? So yeah, it's just ridiculous. And here's the thing: like I'm okay with them trying a small ball lineup with Rocco at the 5, and like Kanter played great, so I get him getting 29 minutes. I just hope Giles gets more of a chance because I think the more playing time he'll get, the more comfortable he'll get, and the better he'll play. I think it's that simple.
And the other thing too is against some lineups too, I think Giles can play some power forward, so he doesn't have to play center. Mm-hmm. Like I'd like to see, especially a few games we've been at a big rebound disadvantage. I guess that wasn't necessarily the case tonight, but like sometimes I just wish we'd play a little bigger than smaller. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean you could have played. Like they had a lineup with John Collins and Capella in for stretches this game. You could have played Giles and Kanter. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm still very high on Harry Giles. Like, there's nothing I've seen nothing to make me sour on him whatsoever. And people that are now like trying to say "I told you so" based off tonight's game are just absolutely ridiculous in the perfect epitome of a lot of the people that try and defend Stotts by saying he doesn't have anybody to play, and then Giles has a decent game tonight and does a lot of little things, but they ignore all that and try and say he sucks and that Stotts has no options and Olshey sucks. Like it's just the whole path of logic is absurd, man. It's absurd.
So we got Drunk Bread in the chat now. What's up, Red? Anyways, he says he's a bit raw. But, like, I feel like that's what we need right now. Like, we need someone who's a bit raw that we can kind of mold and can just make plays and make stuff happen when, like, we talked about how our second unit might struggle if Simon's, like, I even mentioned Carmelo Anthony being a point guard, right? But, like, we need someone like Giles who can create something out of nothing when that offense isn't going well. And instead we had like Kanter in during that Pacers game with that lineup, and no one knows what to do. There's not really any playmakers and anything like that. So like, why not put Giles or Rod Giles in there and be like, okay, here's your chance, create something, like set up the offense. Like it's all on you. Like we're going to run pick and roll and give you the ball at the top of the key, and you can either pass it or drive to the lane or shoot it or do what you want. Like just like let him just free the reins for a minute, like just for a few minutes in this situation where we need him to step up, and maybe he can get some confidence going. Maybe he can make a couple plays and you're like, wow, we can exploit that in the future. And like if we're not going to run an offense, why not throw some guys out there that can do that kind of stuff? Yep. Because this guy's an athlete. He can play.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, the way we run our offense and the way we run our defense is raw. That's what I'd say. Yeah. So I agree with all that. That is going to wrap up our post-game show. It's past midnight, which is the first time we've done that, and we still got solid viewership in here, so appreciate all of you that stuck around for the stream. Glad you guys are in here, and glad to bring you another post-game stream, as always. So we will be live Monday after we won't have Blazers Uprise live on Monday since the game tips off at 12 p.m. So we'll be live with the post-game show around 2:30 or so. That is the plan on Monday. And then, maybe we'll have Blazers Uprise live on Tuesday. I don't know. I'll decide on that later, and I'll tweet it out and let you guys know what's up with that. So, Anyway, yeah, that's going to wrap up this one. The Blazers get the win tonight, move to 8-5. Hopefully they can rattle off some wins. Hopefully CJ McCollum isn't out for an extended period of time. We will react to that on Twitter when it's announced. So make sure to go follow us. I'm at Tori Jones YT. Eric is at HoopsJock. The channel is at Blazers Uprise YT. Appreciate the follow if you follow us or go follow us right now. Other than that, second channel, make sure to subscribe to that. We're still chasing that 1,000 subscriber dream over there. Yeah, that's a wrap for this stream. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a good Sunday, and we'll catch you all on Monday. Until then, as always, peace out.